Hello, hello. Welcome back to another stream of Higurashi. Feels like it's been 2 weeks, and I think it has. That's neat. Just going to quickly finish Higurashi with the extra stuff, that being our cast review.
この度も日暮らしの泣く頃についたたり殺しを最後までお楽しみいただき誠にありがとうございました。
Which we can use as kind of a catch up for what's it called? Or, well, a reminder for the last chapter. Though it's still pretty much in my mind, because that was a good ass chapter. I think it might be my favorite of the first three. As fucked up as it is in parts. Anyway, let's actually go. Thank you very much for enjoying Higurashi When They Cry Chapter 3 Taitorogashi. How do you like it? It had a different sort of atmosphere than the previous chapters. I would be happy if you enjoyed it. Hehe. A bad end again. The type which we're so fond of, huh? Personally, I want to get the scene of the gas coming in, the villagers spasming and foaming for the mouth one by one before dying. Do you all think so too? Of course I do not think so. Again! It happened again! A huge bad end. Mi-chan, you sure seem happy about the bad end? Well, it's more like all we can honestly do at this point is laugh. The terrible ends have been escalating throughout each chapter. It finally reached a culmination, I suppose. Everyone died together as friends. As friends, Nipa. I guess you could say that. I die every time though. I'm a little tired of it. It would be nice to have an ending where I don't die once in a while. Tomitake-san, you're kind of a time signal. When you die, it's like, oh, we're in the second half now. Kind of. Not wrong. Okay. Now, here are our guests that debuted in this chapter. Everyone give a big round of applause. First is Coach, Irie Kyosuke-san. I'm going to have your introduction. Hello there. As a minor character, but having full portrait like this makes me really feel important. It's true. You had too many appearances, too much dialogue, and too strong a role for a minor character. I don't know how much I'll get to appear from here on, so please root for me. Thank you very much. Next up is our teacher, Chie-sensei. She appeared earlier, didn't she? Hello everyone. I appeared in various scenes, and this time I was given that memorable scene, the curry showdown. I just can't forgive those who would slight curry. Haha. Yes, I wonder. Someone give Chie-sensei a seat, please. Okay, now everyone is here. Rena, you can do the honors again. Okay, everyone. Please pick up the cup nearest to you on the table. There's plenty of different drinks. These after parties have really gotten lively. How many do we have here now? Including us, I think there are about 10 people. Now we finally have the same number of minors and adults. We can all drink without being ashamed. Speaking of beer, how is that something so delicious when cold turns out so bad when warm? One of the 7 wonders of the world, I say. Hehehe, I wonder why. Okay, I'll pour some beer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Huh? There were 6 adults here? Me. I would like the foamy barley tea as well. Barley tea. Rika-chan, you can drink. Anyway, Rena-san, let's get this moving. Well, okay. Can I have everyone's attention, please? Alright, everyone. Excellent work on Taitorogashi chapter. Cheers! Cheers! I could hear in the background Seto, which I think is like, wait. Yay! Clap, 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 clap. Okay then, let's get down to a traditional plot discussion. Still though, the chapter just confused us yet again. In that, you are right. Well, if anyone has an opinion, please raise your hand. Wow, everyone's being so discreet. No hands? Then why don't I break the ice? Excuse me, could you change the music, please? Something a little more mysterious. Yeah, that's good. The mood has been set. Alright, Takano-san, take it away. I think that just by pouring over the Higurashi story, the mystery won't be revealed. I know what you mean. Obviously, that's how the stories have been set up. But there's something like that in particular. I don't know if I'm right. In Onikakushi, when Mabaraka was eating in the restaurant with Oishi, Shirozaki found out, and it was a little mysterious, right? That's certainly mysterious just in Onikakushi, but after reading Watanashi, a few things made a lot of sense. Yeah, it's practically owned by the Mion family, and maybe Shion was there. I mentioned the restaurant with cute uniforms during the story, it must have been Angel Mode. Angel Mode is owned by the Sonozaki family, so... Someone who knew Kei-chan was there too, and told me, and it actually makes a good amount of sense, right? That's what we mean. There are subtle differences in the Higurashi stories, but I think there are 3 facets that are the same for each. Character settings, for example, are scary in Onikakushi, but that wasn't only because it was Onikakushi. I was scary. It was because my character was the exact same in all 3 stories, is that it? I agree with the characters being exactly the same. The most extreme case being me dying the same way in the same place every time. No matter which story it is, you always die on the same day. The scene where during Watanagashi, Tako-san and Mitaka-san sneak into the ritual implement storehouse. The same scene may have still happened in other stories, even though it wasn't portrayed. That I agree. I think it still happened. Save for a few events, the weather, the day of the festival, what we did in the club, and Satoko's uncle coming home, it's almost all the same. Whoops. Which means we have a bunch more questions. If the stories are told in the exact same environment each time, why do they end up being so different? Think from the perspective of a general adventure game, it's suspense gen, sometimes the story branches depending on choices, right? So in Watanagashi, the point where you do or don't give the doll to my sister. An undeniable bad end from a choice so early on. That's pretty scary. Well, in Tadagashi, maybe whether you decide to kill the uncle or not. I think it was way before that. I think it's branched back when the uncle's cohabitant disappeared because of some trouble and he returned to Hinmizawa. Then what is the first branch in Onikakushi? I think it was when I appeared and started talking about the serial freak incidents related to Oya Shio-sama's curse. Agree there? No, I just thought of something. If Keiji-san gave the doll to Mion-san, if Oishi-san and my uncle Han appeared, would we not have spent our time in peace without anything happening? I see. Sega's gotten right to the point. You're right. You can say that again. Then maybe we should pray Oishi-san and her uncle don't show up in the dark story. And then if we can prevent Sonozaki-san from getting in a bad mood, everyone will be happy. Yay, Big Sis, you're needed for the bad ending. Be careful, everyone. If you make my sister mad, you're sure to get a bad end. What are you saying, Shion? Next time I'll make sure to be merciless in the pain I put you through. You can cry and apologize us all you want. It won't work. Just you wait. Man, I've been swallowing sentences. Ahaha. We can't solve any of the mysteries thus far. We moment, we seem to have put together a plan for how to get the story to end happily. I wonder if that would really make us happy. Oishi-san and Teppei and Kojo don't show up. Mion-san gets the door. Is that really all we have to do to make sure of? You're right. We're all forgetting the most important thing. Remember the Great Hinamizawa disaster? We cannot prevent natural disasters. Should we have everyone in the village put on gas masks and move away? It's probably Ushio-sama's curse. So we need to make sure not to make Ushio-sama angry. No, haha. This is getting a little tricky. You mustn't anger Ushio-sama, huh? And what should we do in order to prevent that? The dam project itself is probably out of the question. Maybe if there was never a dam project in the first place? Then that would be hard. If it didn't happen, we would need a ritual to quell Ushio-sama's anger. Sinking a sacrifice into Onagafuchi Swamp, a ritual sacrifice. A sacrifice? Who do you sacrifice? Come on, use your hand. Someone who's destined to drop out of the story no matter what happens. It's gonna die anyway, then might as well have it help out in Mizawa. When you say someone who drops out no matter what, you're talking about me, aren't you? I knew all along, I knew you had some very important role in the story, Jiro-san. We'll get you to play your part. And with that, we have the blueprints for getting a nice, happy, good ending, don't we? Let's give it a try, since we have time. Aaron will come over here. We stop Uncle Hojo, whose lover ran out on him from returning to Hinamizawa. Hi, my name's Uncle Hojo. He has no portrait, so I'm standing in it. I'm so lonely and blue because my lover ran away. I have to go back to Hinamizawa, look up Satoko-chan and haha, race her into a maidservant. Why don't I take my motorbike back? I just put on the key and click, click. Kaboom! Judgment! For ashes and dust shall you return. Satoko-chan, don't you think that was a little too much gunpowder? Hope Coach is alright. Next to stop Oishi-san from showing up. Me this time? My name's Kurado Oishi. A hot, good-looking middle-aged man who looks like a blues singer. Kaboom! Meep! Judgment for you. And as we forget our follow-up service for my sister. Come here, big sis. That's a cute doll for you. Ah, how nice. Something about this just doesn't sit right with me. Finally, we call Ushio-sama's anger. Then, will our last actor please come up? Tie him up, wrap him up, and hang him. Sing for 3 days, right? Not that patient. Let's just get it over with. With that, the case has been closed. Except you, committed 3 murders. The end. Keiichi? Nope. Oh no, all of a sudden the owl of mine is glowing with the awesome power. The pile of corpses is a pretty big deal. Huh? Is that the phone? Hello. Oh, Keiichi-kun. Thanks for your yeah, looks like you're having a roaring old time, and yet here I am busy with reading the scenario for next story. Whatever. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let you off without any teasing. Is she on there? Can you put her on? What? Going to announce it here? Want to keep it a secret for a while longer, but okay. Secret between Shion and Keiichi-san? What do you mean? Nobody told me about it. Nobody. Okay, Kei-chan, let's say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. The main character of the next story will be Shion Sonozaki. Yes, so that's that. Go on topping the popularity charts since her first appearance. The late appearing younger sister of the twins being popular has been the pattern of things ever since the days of TH. I have no idea what that means and it doesn't matter. Anyway, I've been fired from the main character post for once. If the rumors are right, I might even get a portrait finally. Yahoo! Well, portraits of Kei-chan would be a big waste of disk space. If I couldn't all fit on the disc, it's pretty high chance he'd be the first one dropped. Are you okay with this, Shion-san? Main character always meets some terrible fate in the end. Cuckoo. Well, until now. But that doesn't necessarily mean it'll happen next time. But with Higurashi, we're already at the third game of Higurashi When They Cry. The first half preserved a lot of strange and exciting mysteries, but starting next time, the mysteries will start to be solved in the second half, marking the start of the investigation arc, temporary name. That means it'll be a thrilling story where it becomes a detective and solve all the crazy, unfair mysteries. We'll all better think up a good signature phrase, like, "You sir are the criminal." Won't happen, never. You get too close to the Tree Family secret, be in prison and then get tormented. You are shoe-in to meet a violent, unnatural death. Sis, I should say the same to you. You are mentally prepared for me to see through all your mystery secrets and have you apologize to me and commit suicide? No chance of Hirashio's curse for me, is there? Anyway, this new story is going to be second half, temporarily called Meakashi, or eye-opening. It's currently undergoing diligent development. Oh, that suddenly got a lot louder. We should be able to unveil it to you all in the near future, so I hope you look forward to it. Onikakushi, Watanagashi and Tadaragashi, what truths will come up with after reading these three stories? Or will you just come up with more questions instead of theories? Ha 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 ha. Now has no clue either. Ha 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 ha. For all your warriors who never yield to these three mysteries, kept on fighting. Present you on final scenario as thank you for your enthusiasm, one which we never originally planned on giving to you. Please enjoy it. And that's Tadaragashi to the full. Not many theories actually, so good that I theorized a lot last time. And now let's actually go for the next one, which I think is still part of the questions arc. I think the first 4 are questions, the second 4 are answers. Assuming it's the same way as, what's it called? Assuming it works the same way Umineko worked, and I think it does. Oh, I never even set the config up here. Whoop. That is on me. Going to turn off the sound because otherwise you would currently have a cacophony of noise. I'm literally copying the settings from Tadaragashi, as that has worked for me. Like voice volume way down. Text speed is okay. Sound effect volume slightly down. Music volume slightly down. Okay, everything else fine. Seems to be. In that case, I can close this. Put it on full screen. And actually close it. Turn the music back on. And let's see the intro, assuming it changed this time. No animated intro? Okay. I guess there wasn't a part for this in the anime? I do not remember if I was on old or new music, so I'm gonna leave it on old. And let's start. Rush When They Cry. Why do I have continue? Right, there's always continue. Himatsubushi. Himatsubushi. For you, the final mystery. Himatsubushi. I'm killing chapter. I now entrust you with all the mysteries hidden within Higurashi when they cry. However comical it may be, if you have reached any conjecture, then you have passed. This final novel is a meager reward for you. Conjecture is impossible. You have the right to reject this story. Interesting. This art includes choices that were added in the console version. These choices result in dialogue changes and can lead to bad ends. Do you want to see these choices? Skip additional choices, show only the PC version. Prompt additional choices from console version, prompt choices, and highlight correct answers. I think I'm gonna skip the choices. I kinda want the original experience. Other than the tips. So apologies if you wanted to see the choices, but I'm gonna skip them. Who's the criminal, you ask? Don't we search for them in this story? Who's the criminal, you ask? Do you even know what the criminal did? Who's the criminal? Who's the criminal who will kill me now? Frederica Berncastle. I'm still waiting for Berncastle to show up, if she shows up at all. Midsummer 1985. I had misread the time and ended up arriving too early. I'm sorry, the airport just made me think of something else. It may not be an airport. It is probably an airport. The schedule board flipped with a series of clacks. My flight to Sapporo was still a bit later on. I still had over an hour before boarding. Well, might as well close my eyes for a bit and on the bench over there then. Came here directly from work, so maybe the fatigue from what was making me sleepy. Finding a suitable bench, I put my luggage on the seat next to me and settled down. Akasa. You. Sigh like an old man. I'd hoped to stay young forever, but had become splendidly middle-aged. Apparently the rumor that even people in the latter half of their 20s experience a decline in their physical strength wasn't a lie. It had been mind-numbingly busy at work lately, so I rarely had any time to myself. This might be the first time I'd been able to enjoy a journey alone like this since I was a student. The reason behind the trip was to meet with an old friend. It was a bit strange to call him old friend. In fact, might be better to call him a bad one. Retiring a couple of years ago, he moved to Sapporo, his mother's hometown. His mother passed away soon after, and he was now peacefully enjoying his second lease on life. His name is Kurado Oishi. Oh no. He was a former detective from a primary investigation unit stationed in Okonomiya XX Prefecture. Was this a different year? I didn't actually pay attention enough for that. To be honest, the only direct contact I've ever had didn't last more than 3 days. After that, we exchanged New Year's cards, but never met. So, this would be the first time meeting him in 7 years. In other words, we met 7 years ago in 1978. I think that was the year. There was something I just had to ask to talk to him about concerning that time. To explain that it was impossible not to recall the incident that happened back then. The kidnapping, the details, and the resolution of which were resigned to darkness. Also, it was impossible not to recall a certain mysterious girl. Her name is Mamoru Akasaka. It was a year that had been strangely hot even though it was only June. Early summer 1978. Goodbye, teacher. Okay, bye. Watch out for cars, and don't drop in at our friend's house along the way. Make sure you get your textbooks in order for tomorrow before you go to bed. Clatter, clatter, clatter. The lively sounds of children running towards the hallway. Hey now, didn't I tell you before? I already have one of those. I don't need one anymore. unique high-pitched voice of youth. The energetic shrill of cicadas went completely unheard by their ears. Children returning home from school split off one by one with their groups of friends as they went through intersections in the residential area. Even though there were several of them in a group, as they left the school, as they got closer to homes, their numbers dwindled. That's why the fewer friends you were walking home with act as an indicator that you were that much closer to a destination. Later! See ya! Yep, see you tomorrow! Finally parted ways with his last friend. A van was parked at the bend in the road. The window was open, the sound of the radio leaked outside. It must have been the news or something. For some reason, the three of them were arrested for traffic violations and obstructions of justice. Due to the protests against the Hinamizawa Dam project resulting in bloodshed when clashing with riot police last month, things have only become more violent. The police are therefore taking precautions against radical actors causing yet another accident. Last week, there was also a direct confirmation with Minister Inukai on the steps of Ministry of Construction. The boy's ear perked up at the mention of the name Inukai. At the moment, a man's face peeked out suddenly from the window of the van. His behavior was a little different from that of a man looking around to see if there was any incoming traffic before he opened the door of his vehicle. His eyes meeting suddenly with the unfamiliar man, the boy panicked slightly. Nightingale. Okay. Wanna say? If they're talking about the protests happening now, isn't that like 5 or 4 years before the game normally starts? Which is very much off. I should have really been paying attention to the years more. Oh well. Skylark, okay. Skylark, okay, we secured 2 blocks around us. I'll be honest. They secured 2 blocks around us. We're good to go. Give me a moment. Seems a bit quiet with the music, but I'll see in a moment. Maybe it's just this track that's quiet. The man in the passenger seat whispered quietly. Nodding acknowledgement, the man opened the door and stood before the boy. You. Are you Toshiki Inukai-kun? While asking that, the man peered at the boy's name tag. Toshiki Inukai. Name was written plainly there. Right, he just got kidnapped. A phone rang for a third time. If he reached out, he could easily pick up the receiver. However, he was concerned that if he picked up before it had even finished ringing once, whoever was on the other end of the line would think him a fairly cheap person. That's why he normally never picked up the phone until the third ring. Even he thought it was a worthless habit. However, his thinking that there isn't much meaning in waiting for just 3 rings, won't wait for 5, be alright, was very much a reality. His mind, filled with such trifling thoughts, picked up the phone after the third ring had finished, its reverb dampened by his actions. Yes? Hello? Hello? He knew that someone, sometimes due to malfunction at the switchboard, calls didn't connect well. At those times, the best to hang up and let the person on the other end call again. Thinking that the moment he began to hang up the phone, he sensed that he was definitely connected after all. He felt the presence of the person on the other end of the line keeping silent. Hello? There was no way that they didn't hear his question. What was the meaning of this? It wasn't like he didn't know the people around could use silent calls to harass others. However, he never received a call like that until today. Maybe he was just lucky before, but he didn't believe that he would receive such a call on his phone. There were no direct calls to or from this line. Everything had to go through an operator. Therefore, there was absolutely no way that the call would be connected unless it was verified there was somebody else on other line. That's why he didn't understand how to deal with the silent call. Instead, settled into confusion. Don't know who you are, but you have nothing to say. I'm going to hang up. Please call again another time. That seems like a good way to just finish. Intending that to be the parting line, he made to slam down the receiver. Just at the moment that the person on the other end spoke for the first time. You didn't say who you were, so I was anxious. Do not, Mr. Inukai. Please hang up right away. He couldn't help but be surprised by the extremely strange voice on the other end of the line. Was there a human alive who could speak with a hoarse and metallic voice? No, this was a voice he had heard somewhere before. It's the kind of voice that those lowbrow documentaries, that they use when they want to hide the identity of the speaker, wasn't it? The voice he was hearing over the line was exactly like that. Who are you? As I said, that's what I ask you. Are you Mr. Inukai? He, Inukai, hesitated to answer, able to discern the intent of the suspicious call and a vague feeling that something was off. Thought about hanging up the phone and asking the operator who initiated the call. However, he forced himself to restrain the urge. For the time being, he chose to state his name and listen. That's right. This is Inukai. I said my name, now say yours. My name doesn't matter. First of all, let us begin by thinking about the situation you're in right now. Right now, you're sitting in your chair, talking on the phone, yes? Then why don't you try opening the lower drawer to your right? The lowest drawer to the right of Melissa's chair. There's a lock on it. Not enough to function as a safe, nevertheless, it was a drawer that contained some valuable things. That's why Inukai thought that the person who wanted some of the important information contained within the drawer. So we don't have any intention of opening that. Have no reason to follow orders for someone who won't give his name. If you don't open the jar, I'll hang up the phone. You will most likely end up regretting that. Why don't you think about opening the drawer first? Inukai didn't like following orders from a suspicious person one bit. However, he was concerned with what the man said about regretting it. So he decided to open the drawer. He took the small key and kept stowed in his wallet and unlocked the drawer. His hand stopped right before opening it. But what if there was a bomb inside? It would explode if the drawer was opened. The illusion took hold of him. He quelled the instinct and opened it. Did you do it? The thing that's in there, do you know what it is? This is... What is the meaning of this? Hey, I don't think there's any need for me to explain, is there? Give you some time, so please think about it. I'll contact you later again. Interesting. Well, this intro had a very different vibe from the previous ones. Do you remember Yukie? This is the fourth one, right? The fourth Higurashi game? Am I accidentally in a console arc or something? No, it is number 4. What's it called? Himatsubushi. Do you remember Yukie? This picture. This is where I first proposed to you. A brief moment before you nodded back. Probably wouldn't know just how much it seemed like an eternity to me. Yes, I would have never thought the amount of time could feel like an eternity. Compared to how long I had to wait for you to propose to me, it was from the moment I met you until today. Compared to the time I spent with you since I was born, it might only be a brief period, but there are definitely precious, beautiful days that deserve to be called an eternity. That time continues even now. From now on, I wonder if it'll be a boy or maybe a girl. Either one is fine. Boy or girl, either way, it is living proof that we love each other. If it's a boy, we'll name him Mamoru. If it's a girl, we'll put Yuki from my name in hers. Thinking about names, it's so much fun that in the end, we still haven't decided yet. There's still time to puzzle over it. Not that long of a time, actually. You see, Yukie, there's something I have to apologize for today. About your job. Sorry. Looks like an annoying bit of work has come up. Worst case, I might not be able to be there for the delivery. It's fine. You have an important job. What you do protects the way we live. Compared to that, it is nothing. Please go ahead. In your turn, I'll be waiting here with our child. Thank you. Also, I'm sorry. Please don't apologize. If you feel guilty over it, then you can just atone. If I atone that much, no matter how much money I have, it won't be enough. Hee hee. It's a joke. Now go on. As I left the room, I bumped into an elderly man. It was Yukie's father. In other words, my father-in-law. Father. Akasaka. Okay, that's this guy. I don't want to intrude, so I waited in the hall. I don't mean to ease up, but I heard. So, Yuki is that kind of girl. No matter what happens, she doesn't want to hold you back. I've forced Yuki to give up on so many things. Put her through this during childbirth, but such an important time in her life, I'm ashamed. If you really feel that way, then when you're done with your work, make some time for Yuki. You'll be happy with that, then you're passing your work off on someone else. Thank you. I know full well you do important work. Be proud in what you do. Yuki is looking forward to your triumphant return. Yes. Jumped into a taxi that was waiting outside. Compared to the time when I first got here, the numbers of the fare meter had grown considerably. It seemed the modest time Yuki and I had spent together wasn't so modest from an objective point of view. Sorry to keep you waiting. Go on, go ahead. No worries. Well, then off we go. The taxi jerked as it changed gears to accelerate. To bring the hospital my wife was in behind a throng of buildings. If it was to me to end up as a really troublesome ordeal, I probably wouldn't be returning for quite some time. To call a rookie like me, and on top of that, one who's off duty, it seemed that the section chief was calling for all hands on deck. The veteran upper brass gathered on an emergency basis happened occasionally. This was the first time, though, that I experienced everyone gathering together like this. Whatever was happening, there was no doubt it was going to be something novel. Right when my wife was ready to give birth. If I happened, if I wanted to spend the time to curse my misfortunes, I'd be here all day. Even the verdant ginkgo trees lying in streets that always brighten my mood seemed to lack some of the usual luster. Eventually, the government building's office came into view. Briefly holding my breath let the feeling of tension course through my body. I had to remember that the work I was doing was important, necessary, and difficult. I composed myself and sharpened my wit. Ready. Taxi stopped in front of the building. Ko Sumugesi, Tokyo. Metropolitan Police Department. Chief, everyone's here. Akasaka-kun, could you close the blinds? The blinds were usually closed when they needed to use the projector, or if the discussion was going to be some particular disturbing content. The blinds closed with a satisfying sound, darkening the interior of the room. Immediately, the inside of the room was completely drained of the pleasant morning atmosphere, leaving behind only the cold illumination of the fluorescent lighting. After the supervisor ensured that everyone was present, he nodded to the section chief once again. With everybody on the edge of the seat, the chief stepped up solemnly and began to give his report. Approximately 48 ago, the Minister of Construction's grandson, who was also the son of one of his staff leaders, is believed to have been kidnapped. It is believed that the minister, in an effort to resolve matters amicably, chose not to report the situation to the police and plans to see to the demands imposed upon him. It seemed that approximately 48 hours ago, the Minister of Construction's grandson, who was also the son of one of his senior staff members, was kidnapped. The reason why it was phrased that way was because the person in question didn't admit it had happened. Based on the results of the surveillance conducted on ministry residents, multiple suspicious phone calls from what is believed to be outside the city took place. The abducted child is said to be under treatment for some illness. There is no trace of any hospital records or witnesses to such effect. Due to that, various other reasons, we believe that without a doubt that a kidnapping has occurred. Here they omitted the details and brought this incident to light. If you think for a bit, it meant that before this incident happened, the minister's residence had been under surveillance already. Won't use the word spied upon. Of course, there wouldn't have been court approval for this, and it would have been very hard to explain to ordinary citizen. However, it was quite an effective method to catch wind of incidents like this before they get worse. I'd like for you to understand that dealing with these cases before they become a problem is the job of the Public Safety Division. Was he just following the demands instead of reporting this to the police? The fact that the minister can't even trust the police, what in the world is coming to? It seems the group of perpetrators demonstrated that they have quite a high level of surveillance on the ministers themselves and when they conducted the kidnappings. Enough to give the minister pause before calling the police. You'll find out right away if you call the cops, more or less. It's possible that there's a mole close to the minister. Several of the hierarchy members who seem to be experienced with this kind of thing let out deep sighs. The goal of the perpetrators and their demands, as well as their entire incidents, are as of yet unclear. But in any case, the possibility that this may grow to threaten national interest is extremely high. If their goals were simply to have the demands met for momentary gain, that would have been nice. However, if it was something more politically motivated, shake-up, things would get a lot more complicated. Since we're not receiving any cooperation from the victims, that means we're not privy to any of the details of the threats or demands. Due to the fact that we believe there may be a mole involved in the incident, this investigation is highly classified. Only the people in the rooms are to know of this. Furthermore, as this case is our utmost priority, we will be placing a hold on everybody's normal duties. Understood? After the supervisor continued tactfully explaining our course of action. If this incident were to become public, it was possible for the minister political life would be over. A spare you explanation of how the rest of the dominoes would fall, but in the end, supported diet would decline, followed by no confidence vote and a snap election. It might even expand communist influences. In other words, we wanted to handle this delicately. Kawasaki and Saiki, monitor communications from the minister in the child residences 24/7. Find out what the minister is doing. Report anything that happens. The remaining members investigate whether it is related to the case as she assigned to your units. Focus your line of investigation on the communist threats and con threats. Don't discount the possibility of foreign involvement either. I've experienced one or two unamicable situations before. This, however, was the first time I've seen things get so hectic. Several sophisticated conversations were progressing without the involvement of a rookie like me. I didn't intend to be timid, but I couldn't hide my confusion at this unfamiliar situation. And cover that, as far as Akasaka-kun snapped back to alertness upon hearing my name called. Yes, investigate the environmental groups that have petitioned the minister. Among them, there's a group protesting Hinamizawa Dam project that made the papers. Make sure you investigate them thoroughly. I doubt that this is an act of some citizen group, but we have to eliminate every possibility we can. Understood. Well, it's them. So, those opposed to the Hinamizawa Dam. It's probably best if you go to the location personally. Get some information from the local authorities. There are fairly radical organizations, the Public Safety Division there should have them marked as well. Understood. Head over there. Your wife, she's almost ready to give birth, isn't she? What is the timing of this? But I'm counting on your cooperation. We can talk about this, our time with this, so we just have to brute force it with our boots to the ground. Yes, I know. My wife hates to interfere with my work, from her own circumstances anyway. Sorry and thanks. So then, for Kawasaki-kun and Seki-kun to help support you. I didn't want to take a business trip when my wife was about to give birth. Even if it was a little busy, as long as it was in Tokyo, I could head to the hospital right away. On assignment though, that would be difficult. Even so, I knew the work I was doing was important, and fully understood that I was in no position to be selfish. I have to make it up to my wife for having to be away at such an important time. My wife, Yukie, would probably forgive me with a smile. The only thing she could hate doing would be holding me back. My male ego, though, at last wished she could have tried to stop me. Sorry, Yukie. I don't mind if you always complain to our child that her father couldn't come to the hospital when they were born because he was too busy with work. The next day, I took the bullet train to Nagoya and from there transferred to the XX prefecture. Getting to my destination by land took several hours. If I was traveling by air in the amount of time, I could probably get as far as Hong Kong. XX prefecture was by no means close. I never sat in first class except for work, but whenever I did, the seat seemed stiff. Closing my eyes, I mentally reviewed the documents I read yesterday. Group under investigation, the Onigafuchi Guardians. They were a group of residents opposed to development proposed under the Hinamizawa Dam project. The local protests were quite heated and were getting more radicalized. Even limited to what was written in the newspaper, there was bloodshed that occurred during a clash with riot police. Interference with the dam construction, too many to count. The number of petitions, sit-ins, and direct appeals to the relevant organizations were innumerable. As for an extension of that, there were a direct appeal of the Minister of Construction the other day. This was the reason why we're investigating this group in the first place. The land that they lived on was going to be submerged. There's no wonder that they would go into a frenzy over it. Even given that they could really be capable of doing something like kidnapping the Minister of Construction's grandson in order to halt the project. For my take on it, I had serious doubts. This kidnapping plot was extremely sophisticated and complicated enough, and it was believed that there was some political backing. This wasn't something that could be pulled off by some group of local protesters. I am butchering that word. Well, just like the chief said, the plan was to eliminate all possibilities. While I'm in excess police's reference room, taking my time investigating the higher ups in Tokyo would probably solve the case, without my involvement entirely. Even if that was true, I couldn't regret being away from Tokyo while my wife was ready to give birth. This was work. There was really nothing that I could do. Ding dong. The announcement that we would be arriving at the destination soon snapped me back to wakefulness. Gogura, XX Prefecture. The Onigafuchi Guardians. Yes, they've been quite active around here. The Prefecture Public Safety Department had already documents on a cup of tea ready waiting for me. The short of it is there are a group of residents opposed to the dam. Really, it's probably better to say that every resident living on the land are going to be submerged is rising to action though. Like the old saying, fight to the last, they're determined and well prepared for a lot. It'd be nice if they drew the line at just being a moderate residential organization. The stack of papers they had prepared for me's document room was by no means thin. At first, they're pretty much just your average citizen's initiative, but ever since that incident with the riot police, they've really started to heat up. Now they've got a violent mentality on top of growing increasingly radical. Violent organizations usually indicate ones that enforce their ideology without regard to the democratic process. Breaking that down, many organizations held extreme left revolutionary ideologies. Considering that it couldn't help but be surprised that a citizen group would end up going this far. Radical citizens' movements happen occasionally. It seemed, however, that this group was nothing as trifling as that. It seemed that it would have to consider exactly what Onigafuchi Guardians was. Guardians' demand is, in other words, withdrawal of the dam projects. How far would they go to have that demand met? The kidnap of the minister's grandson was classified. That meant, of course, I couldn't tell that XX Prefecture Department about it either. As you know, there were arrests after last week's confrontation with the Minister Inukai. There's enough reason to believe that they could use illegal means to assert their demands. You can order a list of criminal records related to the Onigafuchi Guardians according to the documents. Contents were all violent, not giving me the barest hint of a feeling that these people were trying to uphold the law. Would you give me a basic rundown of the types of illegal activities that Onigafuchi Guardians are engaging in? The chief opened a manila envelope, fished out of the several organized sheets, and spread them out on the desk. Seems the raids on the construction site are the most common. First, they were committing relatively petty crimes like cutting power cords, jamming locks, and breaking office windows with throwing rocks. Of course, what was really happened first were things like demonstrations, sit-ins, and distribution of pamphlets, lively but democratic forms of protest. However, then the demonstrations and police clashed, which started a riot, leading to numerous injuries and arrests. It was from that point on the Onigafuchi Guardians, like the name implied, began to take on more demonic form of resistance. If the raids were frequent, didn't the local police up their patrols? Well, of course, they were full alert, but they're up against locals, you know? There wasn't much the police could do. They were sneaking around under the cover of darkness. Might as well label the entire map of Nizawa around the dam construction site enemy territory. No matter how alert the police were, the locals would show them exactly how easy it was to sneak around. Actually, it was after the police upped their security that the protesters started getting more extreme, as though they were being provoked. See here? Can you tell how things started to heat up? An office set on fire. Destruction of heavy construction equipment. Destruction? You couldn't have used explosives. No way. You see, they crammed the gas tank full of sugar cubes. If they do that, it fouls the engine. Even in Japan, it seemed there had been people doing that to the vehicles of occupying forces right after the war. Compared to misdemeanors like breaking windows, it was extremely violent and aggressive. After being towed around to that extent, local police have completely lost face. The arson was a bit much. After that, local police drastically increased the number of personnel they had stationed around the clock. The raids on the construction site quieted down a bit after that. Used down quieted down, but that was still smack dab in the middle of the list of crimes. See, after that, they found that attacking the site had become difficult. They started resorting to personal attacks. The first people targeted were the construction workers. After that, there was silence. What was about described to me was a guerrilla war fought in the jungle. Threats and violence against the workers. Harsh words and harsher rocks were thrown. There's quite a list of accusations here, but there's not a whole lot of convictions. Of course not. First of all, there are no witnesses. On top of that, even if we identify the perpetrators, they have alibis coming out of the woodwork. What do you mean by that? Take, for example, you're walking around Himatsubushi's, where a certain man stabs you with a knife. Remember the person clearly and even know his name and address. Oh, the knife doesn't have any fingertips on it, and there's no other physical evidence. Well, you'd think this would be a run-of-the-mill case of assault, wouldn't you? In Himatsubushi's, though, it is a perfect crime. Okay, sorry about that. My elderly grandmother just woke up. So probably about 15 minutes I'm gonna have to take a break to help her, well, set up for the morning, I guess. So I'm not going into details. In Himatsubushi's, though, it's a perfect crime. Everybody is the entire village, they're all in on it. Like the man who was the perpetrator, they'll get the story straight and prepare an alibi. To that end, they'll probably even forge some evidence. There's nothing they can do but put them on trial. On top of that, on top of there not being any material evidence, though, people testify one after another to cover his side of the story. The prosecutor would hesitate to file charges. I'm not sure about murder, but if it's something like opening a gash on someone's forehead, like throwing a rock, or leaving a bruise after hitting someone, even if you could single out the suspect, there's enough reasonable doubt to not convict. Every case, without a doubt, perpetrated by someone in Himatsubushi's, but they can't identify who. Even if they could figure out who it was, they're unable to obtain enough circumstantial evidence through due process. The villagers were all extremely well informed about this, and so the malicious, vicious, and tenacious personal attacks continued. The victims can be okay with that, right? Couldn't they have filed for an appeal? Well, you see, about that, everybody on the inquest committee didn't want to get involved in something so troublesome. One moment, I have to go help for something. My grandmother. That was not what I was referring to earlier. This was just a small break. It's gonna happen again in like 10-15 minutes. Well, you see about that. Everybody in Quest committee didn't want to get involved with something so troublesome. They won't stick their noses into anything related to Hinamizawa. The Inquest committee is comprised of random selection of local residents. In the event the prosecutor fails to get a conviction, they have the power to order a retrial. It's a system designated to assert the will of the people on the actions of experts, prosecutors in the legal world. In this case, however, being composed of local residents has backfired. They don't want to get involved. Why is that? How to explain this? We'd say they're afraid. And it's a little special there. Special? Is it an outcast community? No, it's a little different from that. Just think of them being afraid. It's a little hard to explain just now. Alright, there's an easier way. Wiping his forehead with a handkerchief, he opened a file labeled as list of members of Onigufuchi Guardians. The finding of Onigufuchi families, you see, is in the fact that they count many people among the members who are influential in the neighboring areas. Take a look at this. What I saw startled me. Prefecture and municipal assembly members, staff members of a chamber of commerce, an extensive executive of the business association, an executive of a town council associated with the PTA liaison. There were more than a few people with a lot of say both locally and in the neighboring regions. Around here, you can pretty much expect your actions to be observed by those agents against the dam project. If you said something in support, who knows how it would work out to your disadvantage. In any case, every town in this area is being held by the throat by somebody from Hinamizawa. The list of Inquisition Committee members is undisclosed, is it? There has to be some measures in place to make sure they'd avoid retribution, no? Well, it's undisclosed, so their privacy is assured, but the person in charge of this is from Okonomiya Municipal Office. In other words, a local. While you might expect some professional confidentiality, you can't know how everybody's connected. People of Hinamizawa have a lot of tight bonds in that regard. When you consider the obligations and duties people have for the region, the web of information thereby formed is nothing to scoff at. It's not uncommon for housewives in a neighborhood to know which kid from which house is what grade in which school, what subjects they're good at, and what vegetables they hate, among other things. You see, there's a Yakuza organization here with strong ties to Hinamizawa and the surrounding areas. It seems that they're providing full support in these recent incidents. They seem to have to be proving most effective. Gangsters, signed together with the residents opposing the construction of the dam? It's a little hard to see what their common interest is. Not that difficult at all. You see, actually, one of the lieutenants in the gang is originally from Hinamizawa, who was adopted into a rather influential family in the village. Exactly what was Hinamizawa? I had thought it was some desolate, rustic village. However, for some reason they exerted a strong influence on the surrounding areas with a strong sense of unity. They would protect their village by any means necessary, even if it meant resorting to violence. The chief had said they were afraid because there were numerous influential people living there, but somehow I got a feeling that they were afraid of the village itself. There was something clearly different from what I had read documents in Tokyo. This was no simple residential protest against the dam. For some reason, an uneasy feeling began to nestle itself on the back of my mind. I chose the most basic way to ask my question. In other words, I directly asked what I wanted to know. Chief, this is just a hypothetical situation, but the Onigufuchi Guardians, in order to halt the dam project, do you think they could threaten somebody important to accomplish that? The chief replied immediately, it is possible. Truth be told, they've already gone to municipal and prefecture offices, as well as local offices and Ministry of Construction, and done things that could be construed as intimidation. Several of our workers' families have also reported that they're being followed around by suspicious people. Well, that would make sense. How progress on the dam, they raided the construction site, destroyed heavy machinery, and lighting the construction office on fire. If they didn't have any qualms about doing that, threats and violence against people related to the dam would probably be no problem. That was it. You knew everyday hoodlum could use threats and violence. However, This time it was a kidnapping of a minister's grandson, an abnormally high-level crime. Not only was pulling off a kidnapping difficult in the first place, but so was maneuvering to have the minister surrounded in their demands immediately. There's no way this was the work of amateurs. Do these people have the power to enact this large of a crime? That was the heart of the matter. Was the Umineko Guardians an organization capable of pulling this off? In order to ask that question once again, I choose the most basic method. Again, hypothetically, do you think they could kidnap a relative or someone of political importance? There's no way they could pull off something that big. That was the answer I most hope for. If it was the answer, my work was as good as halfway done. I might be able to get back in time for my wife to give birth. That was how it was supposed to be. The chief, without a hint of hesitation, replied, "They just might. There's no telling how far they'd go." Sorry, Yukie. It seemed that my work wouldn't end so simply after all. Akasa-kun. Good work. How's the information gathering at your assigned region? Coming along. Seems I'll be able to meet up with the local public safety department, so planning on heading out that way. How's the investigation in Tokyo going? There is a progressing along, but the numbers of groups we have to investigate are countless. This time isn't really a luxury here. There was no new developments at the time. No matter how suspicious the Umineko Guardians was, if they solved the case in Tokyo, my job was done. Looked like my wishful thinking wouldn't come to pass. Hang up at the phone and let my gaze drift outside the window to the valley of unfamiliar buildings. Akasaka-san. A car you can borrow just returned. I'll take you to it, so follow me. Thank you. Show me the elevator to the underground parking lot where Barrett's sedan was waiting for me. That steering wheel kept drifting to the left was a little concerning, which would be enough for me to get around for a while. My destination was Shishibone City, XX Prefecture, an area under the control of the Umineko Guardians. The Okonomiya police station was right on the front lines. Higurashi when they cry. Okay, this seems more like a prequel chapter, which is interesting. No, not done. Okonomiya XX Prefecture. Oh, this is the chapter end. I guess not. Shishibone City was as far as provincial cities went, rather behind the times. Okonomiya, recessed in the mountains, was even more remote. With a little change between the seasons, all that was left was a tepid passage of time into a rather drab town. There was no tourist attractions or local delicacies. But even a strong regional industry was simply dull. Just looking at the monotonous and peaceful townscape, it was hard to catch a glimpse of radical resistance of the Umineko Guardians. The atmosphere of boredom didn't hint of the Okonomiya police station being on the front lines of the damn conflict, nor of the numerous incidents that I heard about in the prefecture headquarters. Good morning. Are we here to pay a fine? No, I have an appointment with Honda-san from the Public Safety Division. Please tell him it's Akasaka. My apologies. Please wait a minute. The clerk, who thought I was here for a parking violation at first glance, the fumbling with the unfamiliar extension number, told the person on the line they had a visitor. Welcome, welcome. Akasaka, was it? It must have been tiring traveling out all this way. So we have to do this. I tried to reserve a reception room, you see. But the consular suddenly woke up and chased me out. I'd hasten to call that we were a conference room, as it was a very small and cluttered. The cramped space was packed with lockers, but the impression that it was more of a changing room that doubled as one for smoking. Listening to the crude chortles, didn't get much of a feeling from Hondoya, who was the head of the local public safety division, was much of an intellectual. But I knew that in exchange, he had both extensive and absolute confidence in his
ご
instincts.
多忙中
Apologies for
突然お邪魔し
interrupting
て
you
申
during
し訳
such
あ
a
りま
busy
せんでした
time.
警視庁から参りました
Makasaka from the
赤
Metropolitan
坂と申します
Police
よろし
Department.
くお願いします
Pleased to make your acquaintance.
公安部の本田屋です
Hondaya from the Public Safety Division.
よろしくよろしく
Nice to meet you.
県警防隊の
A
三
certain
部
by
長から
Senkai from the
協力を惜し
prefecture
むなと脅されており
gangbusters
ますの
to be
で
generous with my cooperation. Wahaha.
防隊
Gangbusters?
県警の
You mean the prefecture
暴
crime
力団
prevention
対策
division?
うちじゃ
You see, we're
鬼
treating
の
the
七
Umineko
シスの
Guardians
連中は
as an extension
暴
of a
力団の
local
インチ
Yakuza.
あれを善意
You'd
の
have
住
to
民
be a
運動だなんて
newbie
あん
if you
た
think they're
どう
just
しよう
random
もいい
residential
とこですわ
protest group. Ha 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 ha. They said at the prefecture office too that the Onikafuji Gardens was linked to the local mob. If I recall correctly, the adopted son of somebody influential was a lieutenant in the gang.
そりゃ逆
In the other way around,
全然逆で
the
すよ
complete opposite. The Yakuza put
暴
up
力団の
the
活動
protest
があ
group
っ
as a
て
front to justify
それ
their
に住民
actions.
団体が
Just think of
はい
it like that.
逆逆
Completely the other way around. Wahahaha. Mondeo was just about rolling with laughter. This was slightly different from the info given to me in the prefecture office, but somebody embedded locally would be more knowledgeable. While we were talking, occasionally, some people who seemed to be detectives would come in and change. One of those individuals noticed Honda's gaffaffs came up to us. Was wondering what you guys were talking about. Nufufufufu.
お
Oh,
クロちゃ
Kuro-chan.
んちょうどよかった
Time's perfect timing. Why don't you join us?
こちら
This is the Inspector Akasaka, who came all the way from Tokyo Police Department.
警部だなんて
Inspector? I'm still a rookie.
赤坂です
My name is Akasaka.
よろし
Pleased
く
to
お願
meet
いし
you.
ます
Must be nice to be so fresh-faced. Did they hire you this year? Nufufufufu. Couldn't help but think I was being ridiculed, so only responded with a forced smile. Could tell that the new person was like Hondaya, the type who had confidence in their instincts and experience. I really didn't like those types of people. Let me introduce you, Akasaka-san.
こちらは
This is Oishi from the investigation department. Regarding the S-file you were asking about, he's familiar with it. S-file? S for Sonozaki. If something is an S-file, it means it has something to do with the Sonozaki family. It's something of a code name. Nozaki? Don't think of it. I remember when I was pouring over the documents at the headquarters, there were quite a few people with the last name Sonozaki popping up.
確か
If I remember right, there's a Sonozaki who's one of the executives of the Onikafuji Guardians. Pretty sure they're the treasurer. The two of them were surprised when I rattled off what post that Sonozaki held. After a moment, both of them erupted into laughter. Kasaka, was it? Nah, you're quite the serious one. Could it be you memorized all the central figures in the Alliance? I wouldn't say I memorized exactly, but at least I've read the list of Onikafuji Guardians executives. Then who are the president and vice president? The president is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Keiichiro Kimiyoshi.
副会長は
The vice president is the priest of the local shrine, Furude.
会計がその
The treasurer is Oryu Sonozaki, the auditor is Makino.
教頭部長が
Liaison is Yushiro Kimiyoshi, the PR head is Sadao Sonozaki. Akasu, pretty good. The pay sucks, but you want to work here? You're just the type we're looking for. By the way, Sadao Sonozaki is the head of the youth department. So close. The head of public relations actually Tadaka Sonozaki. Mineko was being complimented at all. I started settling into an uncomfortable mood. Oh, I was becoming more and more aware that I was the weakest link in this investigation, so I just had to bear with it. I didn't mean for the feeling to show up on my face, but the crafty detectives didn't let that slip by. I don't mean to make fun of you. To make up for it, why don't I show you around the village? For somebody with no feel for era like me, that would be of great help. I couldn't have asked for more. In the end, the Onikafuji Gardens is nothing more than an alias Hinamizawa is using to deal with the outside world. I think getting to know the village would speed up your work. How about it? The residential movement, in other words, held influence over the whole region. So the leader of the movement was the leader of that influence. Just like that, the thought process in the region would become an overall personality of the movement. Just like Oishi had said, in order to learn what they were really like, this regional force behind the damn protest, getting to know the village was the quickest
よろ
way.
しくお願いします
If you would, nodding back without skipping a beat, Oishi laughed in satisfaction, nodded up. If I took the information I learned from the prefecture office from Hondoya to heart, if my position was exposed, my personal safety was at risk. The opponent was an extremist group that had no qualms about using threats or violence against somebody. If my personal info was leaked, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that I'd be in danger whether on the job or not. Thinking that, I felt a little nervous. These guys are quick to remember faces. If you're seen with me, they'll probably do a lot to hinder your work. That might be a cliché, but put these on. Oishi handed me an incredibly suspicious disguise. They are comprised of a baseball cap, sunglasses, and a mask. I didn't want to get all hot and stuffy. Oji-san's warning was probably right on the money. Considering that, I put them on with appreciation. It looked so suspicious that Oishi-san had to smile wryly. How much did I tell you again? Let's see. Part where you were talking about how these three ancient families controlled the village. The Onikafuchi Garden was the same as the village of Hinamizawa itself, meaning there was direct correlation between being an executive in the alliance and being a leader in the village, as Hondoya had told me a short time ago. If the village was ruled by the three ancient families, then it would mean that Onikafuchi Gardens was ruled by those same three families. What did the documents at the prefecture office say about the leaders of the gardens and whatnot? The documents I was using were classified. Responding to Oishi's question, it'd be a breach of security. Or most likely, this man, I judge, was more well-versed in the situation than any of the documents at the prefecture police department, so I decided to answer him. The president of the alliance is the current mayor of the village, Keiichi Kimayoshi. Oishi, upon hearing that, let out a smart chuckle. For him to ask like that and to laugh at that answer, as if it was recorded in the documents, meant that this wasn't the case in reality. That means there's somebody else other than Kimayoshi behind the scenes. Contrary to what prefecture office thinks, or rather, what is commonly known. Omen Kiyoshi is nothing more than a figurehead. In the first place, the post of mayor in the village is nothing more than ceremonial. In other words, there's someone else in charge of both the alliance and the village. Would that be the three families we just talked about? Well, I'll explain the part right now. All of a sudden, it was a thunk the car suddenly lurched. The paved road had given way to a gravel one. At the same time, the scenery outside the window changed. The Hinamizawa Dam project must be withdrawn. Overthrow the shameless puppet of the governor. Dam will submerge the natural beauty of Hinamizawa. Protect the village from the unethical dam. Hear the wrath of Shiya-sama's curse. Demolish the dam. Those involved must go away. The construction office must respond. The construction office manager must negotiate with us. Signs and banners crowded the roadside. Even reading the brush-scrawled words was daunting. It was as though when the road just changed was a border with a different country. At the moment, I was startled by a car suddenly braking. Looking ahead, a barricade had been erected. About 5 or 6 protesters wearing masks and helmets to hide their faces were blocking the road, yelling at us angrily to stop. What is this? A checkpoint? These guys never learn. Oishi snorted as he rolled down the window and leaned out. Hey, you guys can't block the road like this here. Oishi glared at them with a malicious laugh and they visibly faltered. Cleared away. We can't get by like this. Who would have thought that it was Oishi's car? They panicked, but those seemed to make them lose their presence of mind. If we had known it was your car, Detective Oishi, we wouldn't have been so rude. Detective, what happened to your usual car? Is it in for maintenance? Something like that. I just can't get used to this car they loan me. Judging from the brief conversation, I could guess that they were familiar with the license plate on the car Oishi-san normally used. In other words, if they knew the car belonged to the police, they would have hidden the barricade. What they were doing was obviously obstruction of traffic. A blatant crime. Who's that suspicious guy? Could you show your face? Man glared at me menacingly. Wearing a mask and sunglasses made me look particularly dubious. Would not showing my face get me in some unnecessary trouble? Turned to Oishi-san to see what I should do. Give him a break. He's still a shy little rookie. Just wanted to make sure he wasn't anybody suspicious. Hinamizawa has been in a bit of a stir as of late. Have you looked at yourself in the mirror? That mask you're wearing is way more suspicious. The man and Oishi-san continued to talk like that, feigning smiles at each other. However, from the beginning to the end, I couldn't get over the feeling of sitting on a powder keg. Has the number of trucks illegal dumping still not decreased? It's a real hassle dealing with it all this time. If the police could understand and cooperate, it could really help. During conversation, the barricade was moved, leaving a gap wide enough for a single car to get through. Oishi lightly honked the horn once and began to roll the car forward. Could see the men and antagonistic glares at the back of the car in the rearview mirrors. What was that just now? Blocking a public road like that? Of course it's a crime. Still, if you get worked up like that, it'll never end. Those guys claim there's an infestation of trucks illegally dumping in the village. The story goes that in order to stop that, they're halting suspicious vehicles for inspection. Illegal dumping, like corrupt construction, just tossing industrial waste away. Their line of argument is that if the police aren't going to do anything about it, they'll take matters into their own hands. Well, the industrial waste is just something they're doing by themselves anyway. At the South, they had a pretty good strategy. It's in order to handle construction, they spread industrial waste over by the dam side. They're blaming it on corrupt constructors. They start instituting these inspections. There they stop every construction vehicle coming through and interfere with them as much as possible. So, then if one of the methods the Onikafuchi Guardians is using. With the inspection just now, this car's license plate has probably been recorded. It shouldn't get stopped from here on out. Those guys know very well not to get me angry. See, the rumor is that if they figure a car is related to the construction in some way... Oh, I have to go. Here's the break. See you in a few minutes. Whew, sorry for the long wait. My grandma needed attention. Now I can go back to Higurashi, which happens to be the less important of the two things going on between my grandma and Higurashi. I hope that is understandable. All right. See, rumor is that they figure a car is related to the construction in some way. Not only would there be a checkpoint stopping it every turn, but they'd be throwing rocks and planting road spikes as well. Best you be careful so you're not identified. They find out you're from the public safety, who knows what you'll suffer through. Oishi was acting like we were talking about something fun, but for me it was no laughing matter. It almost feels like we wandered into a civil war in the Middle East. That's a good way of putting it. It's pretty much just like what you said. Oishi turned to me with a grin and menacing laugh. This here is a war zone. The car slowed down a bit as it went down a narrow road through some farmland. See the house in the forest over there? That antiquated one? Look at where Oishi was putting. There was an old, traditional design house that belonged to the mayor, old man Kimoyoshi. I'd say it belongs to the main Kimoyoshi house as well. There's a lot of branches, but they'd be the one with the three families. The three families. The ancient families that control Himizawa. That's right. And one of the other is the Furuta family. The house doesn't even have a single branch. All that's left is the head priest family. Right. Over there, that's the shrine. He's the priest there. By the way, the Guardian's office is on the grounds of that shrine. The office of Onikafuchi Guardians. If these guys were the enemy, that would make the shrine their stronghold. Can you look over there? The shrine is Furuta family's private property, you see. Being police, we can't set foot there without a warrant. See, they've got a member of the Diet with ties to the village backing them up. Basically, being the police has its strengths and weaknesses. Well, even when we talk about the three families, there's something from a long time ago. Way back, the three families used to hold councils to decide things about the village. Means it different now? They're pretty good nose. That's what I expect from an academic. Car braked in half with a squeal. Head there was a stop with several signs. Private property beyond, no trespassing. Beware of poisonous snakes. Danger, turn back. Intruders will be charged an entry fee of 1 million yen. Signs were erected there with things like that written on them. The road was separated from forest by a chain link fence wrapped in barbed wire. This is private property, this is as far as we go. There's several surveillance cameras set up further in, saying that we just got lost won't work with these guys. They're beyond here, right? The people currently control Hinamizawa and the Onikafuchi Guardians for neither the Kiyoshi family nor the Furuta family, but the last of the three. Yeah. Beyond here are the three families, the Sonozaki family. They're the ones controlling Hinamizawa from the shadows. Among the list of executives recorded in documents, the number of people, the last names from the three families was quite high. Of course, Sonozaki was no exception. However, at the top was the Kimoyoshi family. If the Kimoyoshi family seemed to be in charge, rules behind the scenes were the Sonozaki family. The double-layered structure implicitly told me the village had both a light and a dark side. The current head of Honmizaki family is Old Man Oryu. She has enough clout for you to call her the Empress Sonozaki. Be careful, she's no small fry. She's enough of a VIP that even mayors of the city had to bow before her. While in Himizawa and the surrounding area, the relatives amount to a block of several thousand votes. No politician could show disrespect for that. In other words, they would make her the actual leader of Onikafuchi Guardians, right? You've got it. Those words, Oishi pulled out a well-warmed cigarette box. The suspect kidnapping of the minister's grandchild and subsequent threats. Were these parts of the hidden plot by the Onikafuchi Guardians in order to have Hinamizawa Dam project cancelled? Came all the way to Tokyo to investigate this, didn't you? Oh,
え
yeah,
え、そうですか。
that's right. Something the matter?
じゃあほら、あれ
And
だ。
then,
犬飼
refer
大
to the
臣
direct
への
appeal
力訴事件
incident
の
with
絡みですか
Mr.
ら。
Inukai?
要するに、
If that's the case,
あ
the
れ
public
で
safety
要
has
注意
them
団体
marked
って
on a
こ
watch
と、そう
list?
いう感じです
Something
か。
like that?
大石さんこそ。
Having a guest so quickly
お
makes
察
this
しが
easy.
早くて助かります。
While exhaling a cigarette smoke, Oishi smiled broadly like it's pulled a good one on him. Or so I thought. Smiles disappeared suddenly.
嘘でしょ。
That's a lie, isn't it? Huh?
だから、
I mean,
直訴事件の
direct
マー
appeal
クがつ
putting
い
them
た
on a
の
watch
嘘で
list.
しょ。
That's a lie, isn't it? Oishi knew there was no way that Tokyo HQ would dispatch an investigator over something as minor as a direct appeal. If they were to dispatch someone, it had to be for a more dire reason. He had figured out so much. I thought of myself as a type of person who couldn't let things show on their face. Thought of the watchful gaze, however, felt that what I was thinking was completely laid bare. Oishi silently lit another cigarette, as if waiting for me to interject during the awkward pause. I see, so this was the veteran detective's way of getting someone to spill information. But as long as I realized this, there would be nothing more. If I didn't open my mouth, I wouldn't have to lose anything. All I had to do was stare out the window and enjoy the scenery until Oishi gave up. You
あなたって人は
really are bad at hiding things, you know?
そういう
Being
素直
so
な
young and
嬉
earnest
しいの
isn't so bad.
悪くないな。
Oishi smirked as he twisted out his third cigarette. I tried to let him notice that I had yielded completely. While I tried not to let him notice that I yielded completely. First I thought I had won, but at very least, Oishi-san had ascertained that I was hiding something, meaning that I might have ended up marching to his tune. Oishi started up the engine once again and began to move the car.
素直なところを教えてくれりゃ、もっとお
If you
力
just
に
be
な
honest
れる
with
と思
me,
ったんです
I
けど
thought I
ね。
might be able to help you.
素直に話す。
How would you help?
ど
If
う
the car
力になれ
was
ます
out of the bag, I might as well use it to catch some
内
mice.
容によりけりですが
Well,
ね。
this depends on what we're talking about, but it might be able to set you up with someone who's knowledgeable about going-ons in
協
Hinamizawa.
力員
An informant?
そっか。
I see. Is that what you call
どう
it?
して私
Why are you
に
interested in my
大石さ
case, Oishi-san?
そりゃ、
Well,
あんた
I'm the same as
常
you.
に知るのが
Is it our
私た
business
ち
to
の
know
仕事じゃ
things?
ありませんか。
Being able to meet with Oishi's informant was an extremely compelling opportunity. We were looking to recruit somebody with the area to collaborate with for intelligence. In the end, there was no better method for finding people than asking. We were always taught, however, the rank-and-file police were no better than monkeys. Unlike us, they were careless with confidential cases. We looked down on them like they'd run their mouth off in a drunken stupor. Oishi was an outlaw even amongst them, and here I was lost on whether or not I should tell him about the kidnapping of a minister's grandson.
その情報協
This
力員は
information, exactly how knowledgeable are you about the Onigafuchi Guardians?
あんたも公安の
If
人
you
間
were
なら
public
わかるで
safety,
しょ。
you'd know, wouldn't you?
そんなの。
Something like that is
私の
something I
口から
can't just tell
た
you.
とえあなたにだって
Protecting your
話せるわけ
sources.
ないじゃ
That
あり
was the
ません
first
か。
principle of dealing with confidential information. That regard, it seemed Oishi wasn't one of those monkeys. I should trust him ask him for help or
あ
not.
なたは国。
It's just that
私
you
は
work
県
for the
に雇わ
feds
れてます
and I
の
work for the
に、
prefecture.
私たちの職務は
I don't think that's
そう
our
大きく
jobs
は
are that
力
different.
になれる
I
と
think
思う
I
んです
can
が
I can be
ね。
of help. However, I had trouble believing that this crafty old man would simply help me, just like he claimed. Now, how should I go about this? Feels like one of the decision places.
無
I
償で
find it
力
hard
に
to
なって
believe
くだ
that
さるとは
someone of your standing would help me out without strings attached.
そりゃ。
Well, not that I'm completely without an ulterior motive.
あんたらは確か
As I recall, you guys have space in your budget allocation to pay informants, right?
領収書不要な予
Something you
算
don't need to submit a receipt for.
さいつで
Just a little bit of that
情
would
報
be
屋
cost
と
of
の
meeting
接触
with
にかかる
informant.
コスト。
つまり
In other words, give the compensation
Johoya to
earmarked for the
wataru ni
informant to you
Anata.
first. Well,
取引
If
内容
it helps
明快で助かります
the details of these deals are so clear cut. He certainly was something else for being able to brazenly state his ulterior motive like this. Oh no, he's playing you. Rather than him doing this out of his kindness of his heart, everything was a lot clearer if he was being compensated for this deal. I felt that he was the type of man who was good at these backroom dealings. Don't misunderstand me, please. It's not me who needs the money. It's the informant, okay? Well, in regards to the payment, I'll be handling the money.
支払いはいつ
When do you want it? Right now would be good. If you don't have it on you, tomorrow works as well. Pulled out the wallet and that was different from my personal one. The price was pretty much fixed depending on what information I was paying for. In this case, the payment was upfront, also considering the fact that I don't know what kind of info I would get, I shouldn't pay too much. When I suggested that, Oishi-san suddenly stretched out his hand and tightly grabbed the contents of the wallet. Times like this, it's best you don't be so stingy. It's alright, I won't go to waste. I understand. I won't be stingy. And what kind of information are you looking for? Depending on what you want, how we approach this will probably change. Swear you won't spread this information to anybody else. Oishi-san, I can't swear as much. I'm the same as you. I can't withhold information obtained during the course of my duties. I got it, I swear. Nothing here gets said anywhere. On top of that, thanks to you, I can pay back what I owe for my own debts. In any case, I don't break up a promise that involves money. I'm still unsure if I should trust him until the very last moment, but in the end I broke down. Oishi was the type of guy I could trust 100%. It was no mistake he had access to underground information networks. In order to accomplish my mission swiftly, I needed his cooperation. I set my resolve. I'm investigating whether or not the Umineko Garden is related to a certain incident. There's a possibility that Minister of Construction Naoki is being coerced by someone. Saying that's a possibility is kind of a roundabout way of putting it. Appears there's a mole close to his minister. And due to that mole, the minister has been monitored quite early and was seemingly forced to cede the threats right away. None of this was reported to us or the police. I see. That's why you're saying there's only a possibility he's being coerced. In that case, isn't it a little strange? If the minister didn't report this to anybody, how did you guys know about this incident? If we don't spy on the minister's private life, we would have never found out. I don't think we have to provide the explanation to the informant, so I'm omitting it. Oishi had apparently caught on and quietly chuckled when I refused to explain. I see. There's a spy close to the minister, so public safety made it a highly classified investigation. That certainly isn't a very amicable story, is it? If that's the matter became public, not only would this affect the minister's political career, but the possibility of there being a shift in the political landscape is extremely high. If the perpetrator's aim is indeed that, then this could evolve into a grave situation. Well, within the government, having development projects all over the country does... they're butted heads with quite a few people. It would take much wrongdoing for the left-wing parties to suddenly garner more support. We're currently investigating what demands are being forced onto the minister. But at least we have a good idea how he's being threatened. How? The minister's grandson was kidnapped. They're denying it, but from judging when he was last seen, I believe it's already been 72 hours since the last kidnapping. For 3 days. If they adjusted to ransom money, this would have been settled by now. It may be that this isn't. For monetary gain, the possibility that they are forcing the minister to do something politically is extremely high. That's something we can't just consent to. So, the Umineko Gardens was listed as one of the possible perpetrators. Whoops. That is correct. It had the minister's grandson demand the cancellation of the dam project. What do you think, Oishi-san? From your point of view, do you think that's possible? Oishi seemed to ponder the idea for a while. The section chief at the regional office had responded immediately, it's possible. But Oishi-san, who was well informed of the matter, was hemming and hawing. Funning with just a little bit. He said something that was really just a little bit strange. This was before the Meiji era, you see. Era where was a named Hinamizawa village back then. It's called Onigafuchi. It's just what I heard from my mother. The topic was completely and suddenly unrelated to the subject of kidnapping the minister's grandson, but I was taken slightly aback. Onigafuchi. Oh, so that's why they call Umineko Guardians. You see, the village of Higurashi was said to be inhabited by demons that devoured humans. Even now it's believed that the blood of these demons partially courses the veins of the villagers. The demons that devour humans? Oishi-san, What are you saying?
情報ですよ。
It's information.
さっきあなたから
Get a lot
も
of
らっ
it,
ちゃいましたから
a lot from you just now.
少しもらい
A
すぎ
little too much. Exchange and giving you a little freely. Oishi-san finally smiled, but didn't seem like he was fooling around. Please continue.
人食い鬼たち
See these human devouring
普段は
demons, normally they were revered as Taoist transcendents and lived tucked away in the rest of the world. But they ate people after all, so apparently they'd go to villages in foothills regularly and abduct their prey. They used to call them being demoned away or onikakushi. Demoned away. It was the first time I heard such a peculiar phrase. However, I felt something slightly ominous from the horrifying tale of demons abducting people in order to eat them. Look, you know how there's common phrase spirited away. When people suddenly go missing one day, they call it that. And the same thing happens around here, they call it being demoned away. How does that old tale relate to the matter at hand? Oh no, there's no direct relationship, I'm just giving a small talk here. It's just... Katump, katump. Car shook. At some point the gravel road changed to a paved one.
ただ
It's just what? Around here, the phrase demoned away is something of a code word for disappearances and kidnappings. I just thought I'd mention that. I don't know if this has anything to do with the kidnapping of Misa's grandson, but there's no deeper meaning behind it. Just that there's a little bit of history. Onikakushi, human-eating demons coming down from the foothills and abducting their prey. Then, in order to cancel the dam project that threatened to submerge the village they lived in, did they demon away the minister's grandson. Then, they had already made an example of the minister's grandson and eaten him alive. A bit of an interesting old tale, isn't it? If you set foot in the demon's village without reason, you'll promptly be captured and eaten alive. So don't go near Onigafuchi. Kids these days may not believe such superstition. But amongst the older folks in Onokonomiya, born in the Meiji era, many would never question these warnings. Nimizawa village was feared by the people in this area. All the piece of information I heard from Public Safety Division. In any case, we're in the boonies out here. It's kind of expected that there'd be some superstitious around. Someone for talking like you and Akasaka-san probably couldn't even begin to imagine it, could they? Man-eating demons as a prize for violating sanctity of the village, kidnapping the Mrs. Grandson and swallowed him home. The ludicrous idea flew to my head. It was so absurd I was half disgusted with myself. Oishi-san was just teasing me. Stupid. It was all really so stupid. Come to think of it, by then, I may have already been seized by the curse of the dubious village. For me to realize that would take a little more time. Higurashi when they cry. Oh wow, there's 4 of them. Yeah, we're totally changing the setup of this chapter. Interesting. Phone call with Yuki. Oh, really? It's tough when it's such a sudden assignment. Please be careful. Where are you headed? You're already there? When I headed out on an assignment, she would ask where. Not just Yuki, but anybody would have asked the same question. If it was a cold place, she would urge me to pack a thick jacket. It was far, she'd warn me to be careful on the drive over. It was just normal, everyday concern that led to asking such an obvious thing. I felt sad that I couldn't answer such a run-of-the-mill question. Sorry. It's something you can't talk about, isn't it? Please be careful.
すまん
Sorry, Yuki. At some point, you just started apologizing right away. Even though when you first started your job, you were all gung-ho about it. Hehehe. Yuki laughed as though she had realized something. At times like this, Yuki had magical powers to see right through me. It's already been quite a while since I was admitted to the hospital. Are you finally getting lonely?
からか
Don't tease me. I'm too old to get lonely. Hehehe, oh really? You actually like to be doted on, don't you? Don't you start getting a little faint of heart when I'm not around? Hehehe. Ah, jeez. I can see that little devil horn sprouting from your head right now.
君は昔
You've always been like this. You can't hide it. You can't hide it. If you don't Play with you, you'll get all lonely. I hear you waggling, your tail wagging over the phone. Hehehe. The side of Yuki wasn't something you could guess existing from seeing her usual modest behavior. It was something that she didn't show to anybody else but me. Normally, I'd poke her to hide my embarrassment and bring an end to the conversation, but I couldn't do that over the phone. Of course, Yuki was clever. She was teasing me because of that. Hehehe. Wonder when I figured out that giving you grief was this much fun.
そろそろ
Give me a
許して
break.
くれよ
In any case, it's good to hear you so lovely. I know, right? Did I cheer you up? I'd called Yuki to keep her from feeling lonely when she was by herself in the hospital room. Of course, there was nothing more than a pretense that I, being shy, had come up with. It seemed that Yuki had long since seen through that act. Yeah, please phone again. When I'm not feeling up to it, I'll get my father to talk with you. Although, if just talking with my father, I get the feeling that you'd be standing the tension on the other side of the line. Hehehe. For a while longer, Yuki kept teasing me without letting me end the call. A record of opening remarks. Chairman XX, members of XX Party, congratulations are due as well as we're celebrating 25 years since our founding. These 25 years have seen such growth in XX Prefecture. Since the once quiet scenery is nothing but fields, has now been opened to a new stop for the bullet train. And with the development of the highway, we've seen the rebirth of a modern city bursting with youthful energy. We reap the benefits of the new businesses and industry. And with the special reverence the residents of XX Prefecture have for time-honored traditions, history and culture, business and industry, these ideals in harmony, they have accomplished in growing their city into one of Japan's foremost metropolises. Of course, the development of XX Prefecture could have happened without the growing of XX Party. We are resolved to see every one of the campaigning promises to fruition. Reaching out targets definitely and expediently like arrows fired from a bow. With these arrows as fundamental basis of the XX Party, our members have sought to pierce the obstructions preventing the happiness of the residents of XX Prefecture. But I do believe that everybody here is unlike an ordinary arrow. While being as unfaltering and straightforward, we have not neglected in seeking solutions that confirm the current day and age, while also keeping an eye on the future. An arrow, once loose, can only fly to its destination. Nobody here, however, is no simple arrow. Once loose from the bow, without neglecting our studies, while employing new methods, and implementing more efficient and flexible ideas, thus being able to change trajectories mid-flight, we are magical arrows. Modern age marches forward, sometimes it marches faster than the time taken from planning to execution. The following part was not in the script. It is though thought to have been added ad-lib by the minister. For example, there have recently been numerous problems with Hinamizawa power plant projects. Rather than forcing through the project solely because it was decided upon by the government, it's necessary to reflect on and adjust to the ever-changing needs of the residents, the region, and the next generation. Protests by local residents that surround the Hinamizawa Dam, these are also the will of the people of XX Prefecture. You feel that there is no need to listen because the project has already been finalized, then you do nothing more than shed a poor light on Japan's post-war democracy. The following is as per script. As for the lasting happiness of the citizens of Japan, residents of XX Prefecture, please consider these policies thoroughly. I believe, however, we have all gathered something from this flexibility and foresight in XX Party. I've taken up much of your time. However, allow me to say that the following to celebrate the 25th anniversary of our founding. Chairman XX, members of XX Party in attendance, thank you very much for today. From the opening remarks of XX Party Prefecture Forum 25th Anniversary Celebration. Interesting. So yeah, he was already giving speeches that, indicate that he's being pressured by them. Gears and fire and the taste of honey. The world is filled with people blessed with relationships. Of course, that doesn't mean that everybody is connected to each other. It's obvious that on the other side of the planet, there are people laughing and crying who can possibly have an effect on you. However, in this extremely limited community of neighborhood, that sort of connection is just a matter of fact. It's quite possible that a single remarkable event could have a massive consequence inside a small community. If you were to increase the scale, a perfect stranger on the other side of the globe might become enough of a legend to have an effect on our lives. Well, it's not always like that. Like I said at the beginning, the links between people basically aren't that relevant in the grand scale of things. Whether some household nearby is having steak or croquettes doesn't matter to me either. When I put on my shoes, it doesn't matter to anybody whether I put the right ones on first or the left. This much the average person can understand. But actually, in reality, this is the truth. The bonds between people are quite well defined. Not just a matter of distance or being far or near. For example, let's say person A's actions have some effect on me. Then person B's actions could have absolutely no consequence on my life. The reverse also holds true. Just because my actions affect person A, that doesn't mean that always mean that they affect person B as well. Let's put it bluntly. If the bonds between people are like gears in a machine, the gear that represents me meshes with some people, but is isolated from others. There are some who would try arguing against this. Those people will bring up the example of gears in a clock. Each gear indeed only directly meshes with one or two people. However, if you rotate one gear, the next one is moved, which connects the next one and the next one. In the end, all the gears are moving. There is a logic behind this, more than enough to convince the average person. Why is the argument convincing? The answer is simple. Relationships between people are ambiguous and can only be described conceptually. How the gears are connected and how the movements are chained together can be used as fundamental explanation, so it's thrown a wet blanket on the argument. As for the people who like the explanation, I'll use an example of a clock again to refute it. First of all, to say that this world is a singular clock would be wrong. That is, it isn't only a clock. There exists many clocks in the world, each counting their own time. If you think about it, the idea that the world is just one big clock is the height of arrogance. If you use the analogy of gears to explain human relationships, then you should be able to explain it using an analogy of multiple clocks unrelated to a single gear. Neighbor A, neighbor B. A is a gear in the same clock as me, but must remain civil. B is a gear in a different clock, so he doesn't really matter to me at all. Kind of clear distinction I'm talking about. You want to say I'm being fallacious? Then let's change the analogy to something more familiar, as you can understand. You probably heard the phrase, a fire on the opposite shore, sometime in your life, no? For example, if your neighbor's house was on fire, you'd probably try and help put it out, wouldn't you? It'd be awful if the fire spread and burned down your own house, after all. What if the fire was in a town the opposite side of the river? Would you still get out of your way to help? You wouldn't, would you? Even though it would be the wrong thing to do, there's no way the fire could spread to your own house. Even if it turned out a huge conflagration, there's no relation between the houses that will spread fire to yours and those that won't. The basic example, you should be able to see the difference between gears that are or aren't related to your own. Having said that, there's still a lot to think about, even without a river to decide it. After all, it's not a spatial problem like being on the other side of the river, is it? Not sure how much I agree with that. I mean, if there was a fire on the other side of a lake and I was on the other side, Bob is still called like the fire department, but I wouldn't go there. I imagine there would be other houses already working with that. There wouldn't exactly be much help at that point I could bring by going all the way there. Or that would probably be my thought process. The chicken in the trunk. The car has stopped, but he didn't know any more than that. For not only was he blindfolded, but locked in the trunk of a car. How could people become this powerless just by being robbed of their sight? He absolutely wouldn't have known this without experiencing it firsthand. He soon realized it was pointless to try and undo his bonds with the confines of the trunk, quietly making him light-headed. He had no choice but to let this mild torture dull his senses. That's why, when the car stopped, the unpleasant vibration ceased and the engine was killed. He couldn't help but delude himself that he was being set free, even though nothing had been resolved in reality. Of course, he was soon removed from the delusion. He strained his ears when he heard one of the men who had abducted him and the older man he was hearing for the first time strike up a conversation.
疲れさんです。
Nice to meet you. The chicken is in the trunk. He struggled so much that he is probably exhausted right now. But there's not a mark on him, just as ordered. Oh, must have been a handful. Ah, flashbang. The trunk opened, letting a blast of fresh air in. Even though up until just now he had been thinking about getting out that stuffy trunk that was actually open, he suddenly became uneasy. Enough so that he wished that the lid of the truck would once again close, separating himself from them. Suddenly, somebody stroked his head. Of course, since he was blindfolded, he couldn't tell if the hand was petting him or simply evaluating how easy it would be to remove his scalp. Unable to tell the difference, he could only freeze as he imagined the worst case scenario. Cool, little bugger. He's shaking. Just stay calm for a bit. The older man said that kindly as he gently stroked the boy's head. This must be real tough for you. But you see, your Gramps is a nice man. He'll help ya soon enough. Having heard nothing but the average standard dialect his whole life, the older man's distinct intonation left a deep impression on the boy. But he had no idea what he was saying. For your Gramps, he registered to mean your grandfather. Took a while to process. Eventually, the hand that was stroking his head loosened the blindfold. Can't keep his eyes covered. If he splits his face open, it'd be bad. And with that, we might as well take out the gag. He can't breathe like that. It'll be trouble if he yells. Leave him to us. Jeez, you guys don't know how to teach somebody. The main family said no rough stuff. I better remember this well. Yeah, he won't do anything stupid. As long as the kid cooperates, that is. The man's hand prodded roughly and repeatedly at the boy's head. A rough hand, unlike the affectionate one that has been stroking his head before. Just stay cooperative. If you struggle, there's no guarantee what will happen. The cliched threat was literally beating into his head. Man, this chapter took a while. Well, I guess I did take a long break. But so. Waking up in a cheap hotel in the city was by no means pleasant. I remember even during the long camping trips we had during grade school, I wanted to get home quickly, continue on the days left on my finger. Waking up in the morning, I was somewhat reminded of that. What is it that needs to be that was it a need to be with my wife that she gave birth? A particular type of homesickness? As a productive member of society, as a public servant bound to fulfill his duties, it was pathetic indeed. Those negative emotions faded as I downed my breakfast, which was surprisingly not half bad. The meeting with the informant that Oishi-san provided would be tonight. Till then, I couldn't just be lazing around. The Onagafuchi Guardians was protesting the dam's construction in various ways. Including in this was a strategy for improving public relations, which could be categorized into two major forms, combative and peaceful. In regards to the former, as an attempt to keep law enforcement in check, they appealed to the public's sympathy by highlighting the oppressive and inhumane tactics, the police brutality of the riot squads. The latter peaceful route says how precious the natural surrounding of Hinamizawa was, seeking people who would oppose the dam on environmental grounds. As part of that, the village of the Hinamizawa has invited celebrated zoologists and botanists, as well as environmental groups, to advertise the nature surrounding the town. According to the news, in recent years there had been a group calling itself Hinamizawa Nature Watching, setting up free sightseeing tours. I would have liked to have taken advantage of the opportunity, but when I called the village administrative offices, they said it was too late to apply for the tour. They were still undecided as to when they'd be doing another one.
そうですか。
I see.
次回の募集
There's
は
no
ありませんか。
applications for the next
残念
time.
です。
Too bad.
あんた
Are you a member of your
観光
mental
団体さんですか
group?
それと
Or
も
maybe somebody
雑誌
from a
さんの人
magazine?
いえ、
No, just you
個人です。
privately.
個人
Privately? Then you're a
観
tourist.
光を
Something
見たい
like that.
美しい自然
And
を
a
写真に
hobby to
残す
take
のが
pictures that
趣味なんで。
display how beautiful nature can be.
雑誌で
I read in a
とても
magazine
貴
that there
重な
was
自然
some
が残っていると読ん
precious
だので
nature reserves here,
楽し
so
み
I
に
was
して
looking
いたの
forward
で
to
す
it.
が。
I knew there was an article that had something like that written in it, but I hadn't actually read it. Was it... What was it? This ad-lib line not gonna work? However, contrary to my expectations, the person I was speaking to laughed happily. Ha 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 ha.
ならあ
Then
ん
come,
た
come.
村
The
は
village is
ち
a
ょっ
little
と
busy right
慌た
now,
だ
but
しい
you're
けど
totally welcome here. Ha ha
ぜ
ha.
ひそうさせ
In
てい
that
ただき
case,
ま
I'll
す。
graciously accept the offer.
ありがとう。
Thank you.
あんた
How are you getting
あった
around?
お車
Car?
まず
That's
そ
the
うだった
case. Could
ら
I ask
先
for your
にナ
license
ンバ
plate
ーを
number?
え
No, no, no. There's
え
no
は
ulterior
君
motive
たち
behind
に
that. Ha ha ha. That was probably related to the checkpoints they'd set up on the way to the village. If I didn't give them my license plate number, it'd most likely be hindered in various ways. I thought about using the car I had borrowed from the prefecture, but was lost on whether it was okay to tell them the plate number. If the Onigofuchi Gardens was behind the incident, there was no guarantee that they wouldn't be able to find out who I was. I had to play it safe, so I elected to refrain from using the car.
いえ、
No, actually, I'm not
実
using my
は
car.
車ではバスか何
If
か
there's
があ
a
れば
bus or something, I'd
それ
prefer
で行き
that.
たい。
バスな
I
ら
have
あ
a
りま
bus,
す
actually.
まずは
The route
はい
is going to
先
be
に夏は
discontinued
そち
soon,
ら
though.
飛んでいらっしゃ
You
い
can take that.
沖宮
It departs from
の駅
Okonomiya
から
あり
Station.
がとうございます。
Thank you very much.
探してみること
I'll
にし
look
ま
forward
す。
to it.
本当
Well, will
い
you
つ
be coming?
南
Is
沢
it your
さ
first time in
初
Himizawa?
めての
If it is,
時
you
じゃ
must be
いろい
unsure
ろ
about a
と
lot of
教え
things.
てくれりゃ
If
誰
you
か
let me know
今
them,
で
I
い
can
ろ
have
いろ
somebody
ご
show you
案内
around.
そんな。
Oh no, I couldn't ask for that much of you. Wahahaha. Don't worry about it. That's just a bit of PR we do to protect the nature around the village.
あるなんですから
Judging by what I saw at the checkpoints, the villagers were at the very least wary of outsiders. That's why, in order to move in and out of the village freely, I had to travel with somebody like Oishi-san or someone with the dam protests. I have an interest in the natural environment surrounding the village, tied into peaceful types of PR that the village was using. Was a bit against having a watchdog attached to me, but that might actually work out in my favor. The entire village was fired up about the dam protest, so I might be lucky enough to hear some especially candid opinions from the residents. Given that, there was no real reason for me to refuse their
本
offer.
当によろしい
Is
ので
it
しょう
really
か。
alright?
でしたら本当に
If so, then it will really
助か
help.
ります。
After that, I was shown the bus schedule and directed to which bus I should get on. Somebody could come meet me at the bus stop in the village. So showing me around the spot I take an interest in, there was no doubt they'd bring me to somewhere like an anti-dam information center. Then, over a cup of tea, they'd try and indoctrinate me into accepting their principles and beliefs. Well, if that was their aim, there'd be a lot of freebies involved. The world is about give and take after all. I couldn't be going in a suit. Pulled some plain clothes out of my travel case, changed into something more casual. After that, after calming down by watching some local television, I left the hotel and set out to Okonomiya Station. The bus route that I was told would soon be discontinued certainly didn't look that way. There was more than enough trips on the schedule, and the number of passengers was by no means sparse. It was the main link to Okonomiya, the only town in the area. The types of passengers that stood out were older folks who didn't look like they could drive, housewives who didn't look like they had a license. If the area was submerged at the bottom of the lake, it wouldn't matter if there was a bus route. That's what is going to be discontinued in the unnatural scheme of things. Would catch a glimpse of the government's intent in cutting off their means of transport to bully the village into emptying out sooner. Makes sense. According to documents, talks between the Ministry of Construction and the locals broke down quite early. The government decided to start to take aggressive stance on the matter. It was like the fairy tale with the north wind and sun trying to get the traveler to remove his cloak. Even their bullying had meaning to it. The reason why the Onigafuchi Guardians resisted so violently was because the government was doing unseemly things like that. I was somebody who lived in Tokyo, so for a village or two on the boonies like this to be submerged didn't seem like a big deal. But I guess for somebody actually living here, it would be a vitally huge problem. This round will be discontinued at the end of the financial year. Thank you for your patronage up until this point. We look forward to your continued patronage on other lines. Okonomiya Transportation. Oh, one moment. Sorry about that. Gazing lazily at the notice of discontinued service posters inside the bus, I counted down the number of stops until the designated one. Along the way, we passed through the checkpoint before without stopping. They knew what time the bus was coming, so they opened the barricade ahead of time. From here on, it was enemy territory. My palms at some point become coated in thin film of sweat. Now arriving on Ukita Waterworks. Now arriving at Ukita Waterworks. And then passengers disembarking. I hurriedly pressed the stop request button. A designated stop was announced. For none of the numerous passengers to be getting off here meant it must be quite a remote place. Actually, the stop I got off at was so abnormally run down I couldn't tell it was barely used. As soon as I stopped out, an intense atmosphere completely different from the interior of the bus assailed my body. Dude, you said you were here to take pictures. I certainly hope you brought a camera. Right now, Oisho Hondaya weren't beside me. That's right, at present I was alone in the middle of enemy territory. My adversaries probably thought I was just an ordinary tourist. There was nothing more than a ruse. But if by some mistake my identity was to be exposed, brought back the terrifying words I had heard at the prefecture office. If somebody was attacking Mizawa tonight, there wouldn't be any evidence left behind. I didn't seem suspicious, did I? The clothing was currently casual. It was exactly the type of clothing that a city slacker that viewed the countryside as a wholesome getaway would wear. A camera and a knapsack. Inside was various things needed for hiking. It was still June, and maybe it was unusual. The sun was shining down like it was already in the middle of summer. The fact that I didn't bring a hat must seem odd, though it wasn't something to be concerned about. It's alright, I was just a normal tourist. Just normal. Was there anything suspicious about me? Asking that as I turned around to look at the bus that was departing. All the passengers by the window were staring down at me silently. They were staring at me as if they had seen right through the proud little outfit, just staring. Countless stares rained down from the needles on me from windows opened to air out the bus. All that rained down was stares. None of them was saying a word, but all the more, their silent stares told me more than a million words. Hurry up and go back to Tokyo, you outsider. No, there was no reason for me to speak.
私は
Quiet voices were drowned out by the sound of engine. The bus, as if tormented me, set out slowly and after doing more than enough to intimidate me, sped off. Thin film of sweat began to rise from my entire body. According to documents, it was a village that seemed wary of outsiders. Population was small as well. If they saw an unfamiliar face, they would be quick to identify that face as an outsider. On top of that, nobody else had gotten off of this stop. It was a bus stop that they normally just passed on by. Somebody actually getting off there was no doubt that it would draw some attention. But this wasn't a slip-up. They were the ones who directed me to get off the stop. There was nothing to worry about. I knew that I was just nervous since this was the first undercover assignment. My more seasoned colleagues referred to us as the new generation that didn't know how to lose their cool, but that wasn't true at all. Phew. In order to calm my breathing down, I exhaled the unpleasant air residing in the pit of my stomach. Couldn't help but pray that my apprehension would disappear, the white clouds of exhaustion expelled from the bus. There was a small shed there to serve as a shelter if it rained, and it was there I decided to wait. Inside the shed, one wall was plastered with posters advertising the dam opposition effort. It was like the heartfelt screams of the village were recorded on the wall. Inside the shelter, I felt an inexpressible pressure. It was like I had any real relation to the dam project, but it still made me feel hesitant about being inside here. That must just that was just how filled with the force of the Nile the space was. And inside the uneasy space was a girl. A young Rika. Inside the shed carved in wood, written in broad brushstrokes, berating the policies regarding the dam and calling for action. There was a girl sitting with a drowsy gaze as if half asleep. The two images clashed so much that I could only stand there dumbfounded for a moment, trapped in such a surreal environment. If I stepped inside, who knew what kind of oafish noises I would accidentally make? Couldn't be disturbing this girl's slumber like that. I hadn't thought about this, I gave up on entering the shed. It was just a sleeping kid, so why was I so worked up about it? Finally I realized. This girl, to us a married couple, is the very image of our ideal child. Even after numerous explanations at the hospital, we didn't know for sure what our child's gender was. Whether we could tell if it was a boy or a girl was, in the end, dependent on whether or not we could get an image of their genitalia. That was, of course, no guarantee that it was a girl, but with things the way they were, the possibility was high. Even so, UK had been saying that the chances that it was a boy or girl were even. But in my heart, I'd already decided that our oncoming child was a girl. Since the day I decided that until now, it was so fun to imagine how a child would grow up that I couldn't help myself. Amongst those numerous imagined forms, the one I thought to be the most ideal had materialized right in front of me. Of course, a little of it was due to circumstances. In my ideal image, her hair would be on the short side. The girl in front of me had long hair. It was almost as if somebody had taken my ideal and made some small adjustments. It certainly wasn't something unpleasant. Even so, I felt like I was sullying her just by looking at her like that. She had an immaculate, no, divine air about her. Ooh. Ah. That is a weird image. Girl was an angelic smile with a yawn wide enough you could see her molars woke up all of a sudden. Didn't make a peep. But locking eyes with a girl who had just woken up somehow made me feel like I was playing a prank on her. I wasn't doing anything shady, but I became flustered. The girl spoke. No cried out. Meep. Meep? Like the character on the show with the puppets? The orange hair? But it was just one of those greetings kids do. In order to prove I wasn't suspicious, I responded in card. Meep. Meep? Meep? The girl stared at me dubiously like a doll, like the expression cute but cold and hard to read. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. There was, after all, an unfamiliar man in front of her that she had woken up to respond with meep when she said the same. Suspicious. She definitely thought it was suspicious. Meep? 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 We're both at a loss for words. The only one lost was me. The girl in front of me, as if inquiring about my motive, stared at me intently. In the silence, I felt like I was the one who had to say something first. Damn it, the girl was way better at interrogating somebody than Oishi. I'm not somebody suspicious. I'm... Nipa. Nipa? Nipa. What I could have only described as a cold expression suddenly blossomed into a smile, one to soon infect me. You might be familiar with the term angelic smile. To me, it was like that. The phrase was created just to describe a smile she gave. Does this have unique sprites? Kinda? Does look like a, well, younger version of Rika sprites. The girl smiling was saying Nipa probably wanted me to return the favor in kind. That's right, it was kind of form of communication. Having the other person emulate what you did was a rudimentary form of mutual understanding. Nipa? Nipa. It was a beautiful afternoon in the early summer. What was I doing? Nipa. Nipa? Well, whatever. That was something in its own way. If somebody happy with just a smile was the work of angels, then this girl was definitely one of them. I couldn't help but pray that my own child, who was soon to be born, would grow up to be like this girl. That strangely gentle moment was finally brought to the end by the arrival of a car. Our older person waved at me from the driver's seat, a dry smile plastered on their face. Hi there, good afternoon. Sorry for being late. You're the tourist who phoned yesterday, right? Yes. Sorry to keep you waiting. Now I'm running a little behind because of the farm. Hop right on in. Looks like the weather is going to hold up for much longer. We'll show you around real quick. Huh? The weather? Changes faster out here. There'll probably be an evening shower again today. If that happens, you won't be able to take any pictures. Come on, get in, get in. Meep. Looking around, the girl was standing right behind me with an intrigued expression. Body language somehow reminded me of a stray cat that followed you around after you played a little. So charming. Well, if it isn't Rika-chama. Praise be, praise be. Nipa. Girl named Rika with an immaculate smile and an old man praising her while rubbing prayer beads in his hand. It was a rather mysterious sight to behold. The girl turns out to face me, tilting her head a little in a cutesy manner. After seeing that, the elder introduced me as a tourist who came to sightsee Hinuizawa. A young gun who came to the village for sightseeing. The girl, Rika-chan, said that with a smile and she clung to my arm. Well, yeah, I heard that the world surrounded with a precious nature reserve, so very much wanted to record that with my camera. Even though I look like this, I really like taking pictures. Tomitake Mark II. Huh? Tomitake? Huh? Makino, is it okay if I come along too? I couldn't. You could come along, Rika-chama, but there's nothing interesting to see. You should go play near the shrine or something. Meep. A distinctly displeased expression creeped across Rika-chan's face. Being able to show one's emotions honestly on their face was a privilege young children had. If it's not too much a problem, could you bring the child along with us? When I said that, those hopeful words, another smile spread across Rika-chan's face, and another nipa as she clung to me again. Not bad at all. I wanted this girl to call me Papa. No. Father. Dad. Daddy. What am I doing? Ever since I met this girl, I was completely off my game. Just calm down. Nothing I can do, I guess. Rika-chama never listens to even if I say so. Come on, hop on in. Come on now, Rika-chama too. The old man descended from a driver's seat and opened up the sliding door of the van, which had an Onikafuchi Alliance Town Council stencil on the side. Rika-chan brushed me aside, dove into the seat, began bouncing around right away. It seemed like she was thoroughly enjoying the bouncy springs. Come on now, Rika-chama. If you like that, our guests can sit down. Hey, Rika-chama. Haha, girls are nice. Wonder if my child would play around like that too. No. It was written in the guide to raising a child that you shouldn't dote on them. Kids are kids. If you don't raise them strictly without spoiling them, if it's soft and springy, Nipa. I'm definitely going to be a terrible father. It was decided that I would be a doting parent before my child was even born. Well then, sir, I'll show you around some places that I think look nice. Have you eaten lunch yet? Yeah, and a light meal at the hotel. Is that so? Well then, let's get going. We're setting off to a tour of Hinamizawa. Yay! Is it alright if I call you Rika-chan? Sure. My name is Rika Furuda. I can already do addition to the 10th digit. Oh, is that true? That's amazing. I don't count on my fingers. I can do it all in my head. Higurashi insisted upon that was just too cute. At some point, the nervousness I had about being alone in enemy territory had evaporated like it was never there at all. I had to at least a little thankful that I met this girl. Well then, let's get going. Time for Nimizawa nature watching. The old man stepped on the gas with a great deal of gusto. The old man was apparently named Makino. Was he the same Makino that was listed as the auditor of the Onigafuchi Guardians? Showed me around places that were all breathtaking, even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing. Couldn't help but be impressed. First of all, this was different from the simple scenery of a city. The scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed, the villagers had a tranquil appeal to it. At first, I was only releasing the shadow as part of my tourist act, but midway through I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. Tourist chaps had their own unique allure to them, but there was nothing like that here. I was especially captivated by the unsold nature of this place. If there wasn't that whole uproar of the dam, I would want to bring Yukie with me here some other time. I wanted her to breathe in the fresh air as well as show her this rejuvenating verdant scenery. Is something like this that interesting? You're a strange person, Akasaka. No, those cylindrical mailboxes are rare nowadays. There was a certain nostalgic air about them. You wouldn't happen to think they're elegant, would you? Is Himizawa fun? Yeah, it's fun. Once she's discharged from the hospital, I'd like to bring my wife here at least once. With a child that will be born by the time. Aww. Right now she's at the hospital waiting to give birth. She's due any day now. It'd be nice if they're a cute girl like you. Oversharing, dude. Oversharing. So it seems like congratulations are soon to be in order. Still, that's not good. To leave your wife behind and play around in a place like this. The moment, I was momentarily at a loss for words. It was exactly how Makino said. There's no good reason for a man who was waiting for his wife to give birth to be playing around idle in a place like this. Did I slip up? Well, I had already planned this trip to Himizawa a long time ago. My wife's family's with her, so it's alright. I had this planned so far in advance. How come you didn't make the sign-up deadline for the nature watching? If you did, you could have toured around a nice bus instead of being cramped in here. Didn't seem like Makino was actually digging for anything. But if this conversation continued any longer, it would put some unexpected holes in my cover. I'll the conversation by pretending to take another picture. Well, then for our last stop, I'll take you to the place with the best view. I was slightly before the evening. The sun was still burning brightly, but a cool breeze had begun to mix itself into the air. Seeing the exploration of Himizawa with Rika-chan was just about done. The place with the best view? Well, Rika-chan, where else could it be but a view from around the shrine? Seeing that, Rika-chan smiled even more. Well, then I'll introduce you to my home, Akasaka. Huh? Rika-chan's home, you mean, huh? Shrine. Furude Shrine. There's an observation platform. You can see some real pretty scenery. Furude Shrine? The girl who was called Furude Shrine, her home, Rika. If I remember correctly, her name was Rika Furude. Furude was, that's right, with the 3 families. Even though the Sonozaki family is said to hold all the actual power, was still one of the old houses that held some authority. And more importantly, than that right now was Furude Shrine. If I remember correctly, Oishi-san had told me. Within the grounds of the Furude Shrine were the officers of the Onigafuchi Guardians. And since the land around Furuta Shrine was private property, the police couldn't set foot there heedlessly. Furuta Shrine, even Oishi-san couldn't simply set foot there. The main base of the operations for the Onikofuchi Guardians had been given the unexpected opportunity to enter there. I couldn't have asked for more. I'm looking forward to it. Please, if you would. Well, then let's get there quickly. The weather seems to be getting a little iffy. The sky had suddenly become overcast. It wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. The cicadas, as if trying to finish their daily allotment of chirps for the evening, cried out even more fervently. Feels like he slipped up with his family and now he's bringing him to their base for interrogation. The van stopped in the shrine parking lot. Also parked there were numerous other vans with loudspeakers mounted on top of the to act as makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the side of each vehicle was scrawled, "The dam project must be demolished. Defend our homeland to the last. Noah Shirosama's anger." A slogan of a similar kind. They gave me the feeling that even without using the loudspeakers, there was enough to overwhelm any onlookers. Vertical barriers were erected in various places. The contents of these banners were similar. They were all objects against the dam or crude insults towards the government. There were horizontal banners, placards, and so on and so forth. They proclaimed that without a doubt there was headquarters of the Onagafuji Guardians. For Rika-chan, however, this hectic place was also her home. We've arrived! I'm home! Rika-chan crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Makino had noticed that I was looking at the protest banners. Shrine also has the officers of the anti-dam movement. For you, this probably brings back memories of the anti-security threat treaty conflicts back in the day. Student movements against government policies, movements that bordered on terrorist activity, were at one time commonplace, if only in order to garner global attention. Students holding out in lecture halls, brawling with those rad squads that charged in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. It was slightly before my time. I'm not really an activist or anything. Studied without incidents and graduated without incident. Don't really agree with the violence or occupation they use to protect the government's policies. Oh? Quite a nice opinion there. If you have an opinion or a policy, vote for the candidate who shares your view. Or enter the political world yourself. Assert your beliefs in a lawful manner. That's the foundation of democracy. I think that's something you should challenge with violence. For Youngun, you have some fine beliefs. Saw the feeling of respect reflected in Makino's gaze. The moment something tugged at my sleeve. I have no idea what Akasaka is saying. Rika-chan, feeling like she was the only one who didn't understand the conversation, had a look of displeasure on her face. That expression was so charming that I kept myself from grinning like an idiot. I often said that a father wants to spoil the daughter rotten. I think I understood the feeling very well. Sorry. It was a little hard for Rika-chan to understand, wasn't it? Japan is a peaceful country, so you have to argue your point in a peaceful manner. Shouldn't resort to violence in the ways. No matter how much I explained, a girl was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. Probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika-chan anyway. But then Akasaka, how do you think we should keep our world from being flooded by the dam? Even if I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. Here I was, the main headquarters of the organization, telling them that their way of doing was illegal. Preaching that violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling had mixed itself in respect for the Makino's gaze when I was finally realized. It wasn't that simple. There wasn't a soul who would argue that what I was saying wasn't correct. Using violence to get one's way was something that everybody knew you shouldn't be proud of. However, right now, Hinamizawa is in a predicament that couldn't be overcome with peaceful means alone. The legality of Hinamizawa Dam project, through the efforts of the various propaganda campaigns enacted by Onikofuchi Guardians, was being called into question. If they further strengthened their campaign, they might be able to suspend or change the construction plans. But that was the most just a possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction as planned, it wouldn't be long before the place was the bottom of a lake. If it wasn't for the unrestrained resistance of the residents of Hinamizawa, this place might already have been underwater. We can't live anywhere else other than here. can't live in the city. The words of a remarkably young girl who were too accurate, carrying with them the screams and hearts of the minds of residents of Hinamizawa. Of course, that was nothing I could say to respond to that. I could only respond to Makino and Rika-chan's hey words with silence.
すみません。
I'm sorry.
よそ者が気
This
が
is
つ
the
く言え
problem
るよ
that
うな
outsiders
問
should
題ではなか
likely
ったです
just
ね
poke their nose into, is it?
謝罪します。
I apologize. Makino, unsure how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly. Nothing that concerns guests that make their home somewhere else. If you enjoy it here, please tell your friends that Himizawa is a wonderful place, please. Word spreads to dozens, maybe even hundreds of people. The ridiculous plan to submerge the place at the foot of a dam will eventually fall apart. Before that, with a smile that said, please don't think much about it. Makino letting me not worry about much really was a stroke of genuine fortune. Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with a little girl had made me completely forget my apprehension of being in enemy territory. Being reminded of this right before I was going to step foot into their headquarters might have been a good idea. If we'd had this exchange in the middle of their office, there was a short-tempered youth in there, they might have come at me. Didn't know how extreme they were. In the worst case, my life could have been in danger. It seemed that I looked quite despondent at the moment. Makino, thinking he had said something wrong, became flustered trying to prove the mood.
本当に
I was a bit careless just now.
本当に
I was very sorry. No, don't worry about too much.
今日案内しても
The
らった
sights you
村
showed
の
me
あ
around
ち
the
こちは
village were all beautiful,
特に
wonderful
もう
places.
一度来たいと
I really do want to come here
心底
one more time.
そんな美しい村
If
が
this beautiful village is going to be submerged at the bottom of a lake,
沈むこと
I
に
understand why you would fight so desperately.
必死
I
の
had
戦い
somehow
になる
managed to use my
わかりま
despondent
す
look to change the topic in my favor. After a bit, Makino had returned to his usual spirits. It seemed he believed I completely sympathized with the point of view. Now, let's leave the talk at that for now. There's a place around here with a great view.
行きましょうです
Let's go,
よ
Akasaka.
赤坂
Did he ever tell her his name? Probably must have. Rika-chan, seemingly happy to be free from all the boring, gloomy adult talk, bound up with the stone steps. There was no real need to run, but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected at the shrine grounds. Inside the tents were several folding tables and chairs. A number of older council members were living things up with their chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incendiary. The dam project must be destroyed. It was just some relaxed, idle chit-chat between local geezers. The normal sort of calming scenery. At the entrance of the shed that looked like a meeting place was a large sign erected Onigofuchi Guardian's headquarters, written in bold brushstrokes. That was the base of operations. To be honest, it was a bit of a letdown. If you ask me what I had been imagining, this might be embarrassing, but I have thought it's something more like dramatic. Barbed wire fences and barricades. My first impression of this place, though, was completely different from that. It was more like a simple backwater town hall. It didn't look like anything other than exactly that. The old folks who were chatting had noticed Rika-chan's presence. Well, if it's in Rika-chama, time for little kids to head home.
ここは僕
This is my
の
home.
家なのですよ
The old folks scoffed, and she wasn't wrong. From the exchange, I could tell that Rika Furuta girl was loved by everybody.
牧野さん、その人
New sprite! Let me guess. No sprite for old and new. Yep. Makino-san, who is that?
電話をくれ
The
た
tourist who
かも
phoned?
そんですよ
That's right.
こちら
This is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Mayor Kimuyoshi. He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking that he would be scary if he got angry. By the look of things, the old man was the president of Onigafuchi Guardians, none other than Keiichiro Kimuyoshi himself.
いやーこそひなみ
Welcome to Hinamizawa.
いかがでした
What do you think?
静か
It's
で
quite a
ゆっ
relaxing
くり
place,
した
isn't
とこ
it? Yeah.
今日一日
It's able to appreciate the multitude of
美しい
beautiful
場所をい
places
くつ
throughout
も
the
堪
whole
能
day.
貴重な機会をお
Thank you
与
for
え
being
くださった
granted the
と
rare opportunity.
え
Ah,
え今時
even
の
though you're one of
若
the
い方な
young
の
uns,
に
you're quite a gentleman.
喜
Uh,
一郎
Keiichiro,
赤坂に
want to show
見晴ら
Akasaka's
し
a
のいい
cool
ところを
place.
案内したい
Thinking
の
that
で
the
すよ
formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for too long, Rika-chan butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by the first name, I felt it was a little strange, but none of the villagers seemed to mind. Girl of the Furuta household, one of the three families. Just probably different from the average villager.
赤坂
Akasaka, come
こっ
over
ちなので
here.
すよ
Rika tugged my sleeve. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over. Waiting for me was a magnificent view.
これは
This is amazing. This is an observational deck that
すごい
looked over the village. They'd know that this was the best view in the village. Keep quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera, but I had completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. The view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, wouldn't be able to show everything. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be that I would be able to put into words. It was just such a breathtakingly spectacular view that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while, I was awestruck, only stand there in wonder. Cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. That comfortable sensation was also left me speechless. Rika-chan, who had been holding onto my sleeve the entire time, spoke.
僕の一
This is my
番のお
favorite
気に
spot.
入りの場所なのですよ
As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. Smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that was because the view from the favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir.
こんな村が
I just can't believe that this village is going to end up at the bottom of the lake. Said as quietly so that only Rika-chan could hear it. I regretted it as soon as I did, but those words were too cruel. However, Rika-chan didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a
沈
smile.
みませんよ
Won't sink.
ダム計
The
画
dam
なん
project
て
would definitely go
必
away.
ずなくなっ
It
ちゃ
was
いま
just
す
like a
の
young
です
girl to say something like that. There was no basis for her saying that. It's just her wish.
赤坂は
Akasaka, do you think this village would be submerged?
沈んでほしく
Not
ない
that I want it to be. I knew how important this dam was. Knew that it was necessary. Just didn't want to recognize that sacrifices would be made. Agreed with the project in general, but couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery wouldn't be taken away from her, I might object to the dam. Might be able to ignore the interest of the nation, the development of Japan, over the sake of a one girl's smile. Not really much of a humanist, but how sentimental of me.
沈みま
It
せん
won't
よ
be
ダ
submerged,
ムの計
because
画
dam
は
project will
もうすぐ
soon
な
go
く
away.
なりますですから
Her words were just hopes and dreams, but were seasoned with a hint of resolve, as if she was talking about an unchangeable, predetermined outcome. As surely as the sun rising to the
もう
east.
すぐ
It'll be gone soon? Wait, wanted to ask her why she believed it turned around.
はい
Yes,
なくなりま
be
す
gone
どう
soon.
して
What makes you say that?
そう言い切れるんだい
それは
Well, you see, she seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was trying to say.
赤坂が
Regardless of
何
what
をして
Akasaka
も
does,
ダム計
the
画
dam
は
project will end this
今
year.
年で終わりもう決まっている
It's
こ
already
と
been
なの
decided.
ですよ
That was a lie. Something that had already been decided, then the original Onigofudi Guardians have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it would seem like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves in an endless battle. They knew the dam project was cancelled, it would feel much less relaxed around here. The village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the Atossi was at the checkpoints at the bus stop. The villagers, with a misplaced resolve, were still fighting. And this girl, even knowing the villagers' grim resolve, had already declared their victory. The villagers throwing themselves into the endless war, the optimistic girl who said they had already won. Contrast was somewhat strange.
どうして
Why do you think
何
that?
か確信があるなら
If you know something that makes you that confident, could you tell me? Yuki-chan stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say.
だって
Because? Because? She looked like she was lost on whether she should continue or not. As if she was troubled on whether or not it was okay for her to say it. That kind of
決
expression.
まっている
It's
こ
already
と
been
なの
decided.
他に言い
There's
よう
no
がな
other
い
way
の
to
です
say it. It's already been
決
decided,
ま
huh?
っているって
Really is just a little girl to say something like that. Couldn't believe it was actually true. Was the only one saying things with such confidence. A real mission I had completely forgotten that during the fun-filled day resurfaced on the back of my mind. Kidnapping of the minister's grandson. At the Umineko Gardens, kidnapped the minister's grandson already succeeded in negotiating the cancelling of the dam project. Did Kimiyoshi actually already know that and was just playing dumb? Was that what the girl was really telling me?
赤坂
Akasaka? The girl called out my name suddenly. What is it?
東京へ
Go
帰る
back to Tokyo. Huh? I wasn't only surprised at the sudden command. Ever since I came to the village, I had never once mentioned I was from Tokyo. Well, based on my accent, she might have been able to guess where I was from. What I was getting so worked up over was probably the sudden and complete change in demeanor. You should definitely go back to Tokyo right
東京
away.
に帰った方が出ないと
It's not, you'll
ひどく
woefully
後
regret
悔
it.
することになる
The girl had been holding my sleeve this entire time. You've been tugging at my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over to show me the wonderful view. But this was the adorable Rika-chan. This was the adorable Rika-chan that I spent the entire day with. There was no way she could have replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She had been holding onto my sleeve the entire time. Someone this girl was someone other than Rika-chan. She looked like Rika-chan, but she wasn't. It was a girl I had never met before. The girl had told me in an indifferent voice that I would eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart.
それがあまりに
That
も
would be
みすぼらしく
an incredible pathetic thing to see.
今のうちか
I
ら
thought I'd warn you
警告
right
しておこう
away. Why would I come regret
どう
it?
して
いちいちうる
Stop
さいな
whining. I couldn't believe that I was hearing such a cold words coming from Rika-chan's mouth. Just couldn't believe it. Was somebody impersonating her using ventriloquism or something? Thinking that, I wanted to take a look around, but girl's gaze had pinned me down, making me unable to
あな
move.
たの親は
I tried crossing the
あな
road
たが赤信号
when
の
the
横
don't
断
walk
歩道
sign
の
was
真ん
up.
中にいる
Did your parents finish explaining why it
ど
was
うして
dangerous
危ないの
before
かを
pulling you
全部
back to
説
the
明して引っ
sidewalk?
張るでしょ
They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they?
まず歩道
And
まで
pull
連れ
you,
戻して
you back before explaining why
な
it
ぜ
was
危険
dangerous,
な
wouldn't
の
they?
つまりはそういう
In other words, it's something like that. The girl had spent time with Rika Furude, who would not speak like that. She would speak with a cuteness befitting her age, with brief childish remarks expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words.
警告は
I
した
warned you.
勘違いしない
Don't
で
get the
ほし
wrong
い
idea. I'm not like I'm saying this because I hate you.
死んでもい
You
い
don't need to tell somebody who's better off dead that they're in danger. Who are you?
Rika-chan.
You're not Rika-chan. Tee. As soon as I accused her of not being Rika-chan, she let a strange, quiet giggle. It was a laugh not befitting of a child of her age. It was like she was possessed by something. The change was just that of total and complete. Was Rika-chan being attacked by something terrifying phenomenon? That a cold idea came to my mind without any sort of hesitation. Rika-chan is acting strange. Somebody help. Thinking that I'd yelled out, I turned to where the mayor was. Immediately realized that he was looking at us with a smile. That's right, to him, it looked like nothing more than me and Rika-chan fooling around. Didn't notice that there was something terrifying happening to her.
赤坂の
Asaka is such a
怖い
coward. The girl was obviously grasped what I was afraid. Noticing this and calling me a coward, she laughed. The cackling girl approached me in a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance and fell flat on her face. Rika-chan fell down. It was just a while before I would have extended a hand to get her up without hesitation, but now extending a hand, the ominous girl who looked like Rika-chan required a bit more courage than I had in a moment.
み
Meep. The girl cried out thus. That she screamed upright and dusted herself off. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly. The blank expression crept her face. You've got to be kidding me. Was she making fun of me? The way of acting was as though, after being possessed by something, she had lost her memories of what happened.
冗談だ
You're joking, right?
リカ
Rika-chan?
み
Meep? I didn't know if Rika-chan had heard me or not. She just cried out like as if I was questioning herself. Hey, Mr. Rika-chama, tea's ready. There's some snacks too, so please come have some. An old lady wearing a smock was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Hearing that there was snacks, Rika-chan's expression changed. Yay! A carefree smile. That was a familiar smile, one that belonged to the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of the creepy girl that was just here, spotting since the words had vanished. Come on, Rika-chama, wash your hands first. There aren't any manju here for dirty hands. I'll wash them real good. Meep. Rika-chama responded with Rika-chan responded with vigorous Vigor running off the washing station that was along the side of the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call me. If Akasaka doesn't hurry up, I'll eat all the share of manju too. They're steaming fresh. People who don't wash their hands aren't allowed to eat any manju. No matter how you look at it, that was Rika-chan. Those words were the same way, words and the way she said them, no matter how you heard them, they were definitely Rika-chan's. Come on, mister. You're the adult here, so show us how it's done. The old lady urged me to wash my hands. Without any resistance, I lined up beside Rika-chan and washed at the wash station. Splish splash, started Rika-chan intent on washing her hands properly, like she had probably learned at school. Meep? Did I do something wrong? Huh? By wrong, you mean... Oh, washing my hands. I only got 4 gold stickers for it. I'm probably bad at washing my hands. You're not doing anything wrong. You're washing them that carefully. That's more than enough. It's not Akasaka. You don't use a brush and clean out the dirt underneath your fingernails. You won't get a gold sticker. Huh. Rika-chan, you're very diligent. That's something to be proud of. Nipa was praised by Akasaka. No matter how you look at it, it was Rika-chan. That was no trace of that girl from before. Zaki, what was that sinister girl? Rika-chan, what was the meaning of what just happened now? Just now you told me to go back to Tokyo, didn't you? Did I say that? I was all lost for words. She didn't remember what the girl just now had said. Like, I would ever believe something as occult as that could happen. And I could ever believe that Rika-chan could be possessed by a strange girl and say those creepy things. Rika-chan, you definitely said that. Meep. Question told me that, despite my saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb. She actually didn't know. Yet listen. It's not possession. She's just playing dumb, and she's really good at it. Bro, I expect better from you. Exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika-chan had, took a look of confusion creep across my face. The two of us were looking at each other, no idea what was going on. Must have certainly been a humorous sight to behold. While partaking on the tea and snacks, I was shown a photograph film shot by the Guardians that highlighted the resistance efforts. All the folks talked passionately on how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed by Rika-chan, who heard these stories countless times before and nodded off. Eventually, Rika-chan noticed I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That smile was Rika-chan after all. There was no hint at a sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika-chan lessened her passing time, but I could by no means forget what had happened. It eventually grew dark. The mayor said that they had prepared dinner, but I said I would come again tomorrow and took my leave. I had to return to the hotel and file my regular report to the section chief. I see. Well then, please come again tomorrow. If you phone, we'll send somebody to pick you up right away. I appreciate your hospitality. Probably come again and enjoy myself tomorrow. Yes, please do. Seems like Rika-chan has taken a pretty big liking to you. Akasaka, are you coming again tomorrow? I finished after the 5th period. If you could come around 3 o'clock, that would make me happy. Please come again. A pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't a trace of evil in that aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up as nothing other than a hallucination. Thinking about it logically. The dad of the Further household, one of the 3 families, had taken a liking to me, then this is probably footing for investigation from here on. Sorry, my doorbell rang. Sorry, again? It was like a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamizawa. Only I could treat that little instead of a figment of my imagination. And this girl, who was embodiment of my ideal daughter, grow so attached to me wasn't that bad. I'd successfully dove into the belly of Fuji Guardians and had the mayor, as well as other important members of Alliance, welcome me with open arms. This was a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I was forced down an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. The shock from that incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me. Higurashi when they cry. Okay, if this actually ends the chapter here, I'm reading the tips and I'm probably calling it. Okay. Bit of a shorter end, but there's gonna be like 3 more interruptions in the next half hour, so I'm just gonna call it here. Sorry about that, but hopefully, tomorrow will be longer. Probably not a lot longer. Next Saturday will be longer. Going smoothly. The sound of a car grew closer, followed by the sound of braking as the engines cut out. At the moment, his up until now lackadaisical footsteps grew decisive. The man in the room dashed up to the wall beside the window, carefully peered outside. It was his comrade's car. Even so, he still didn't relax his guard. Eventually, the sound of footsteps approached the door. Thump. Thump, thump, thump. Was the passcode.
帰ってきたね。
I'm back.
開けちょくれ
Open
な
the door already.
ああ、お疲れ。
Ah, you must be tired.
今開ける。
It's opening now. After the lock were undone and the door opened, a man appeared, his arms laden with swollen plastic grocery bags. The bags in his hands were 7 marks written on it. Bread and milk cartons able to be glimpsed within. The contents of those bags were then spread out over a sheet on the floor.
カップラーメン買ってきた。
Brought some cup
お湯沸かせ
noodles, so go boil some water.
小僧はどう
What's this kid doing?
ん
Huh?
ずっ
He's
と
been
寝て
sleeping the
る。
entire time.
手がかから
Thank God he's not causing any trouble.
うんこ垂れるとき
He did struggle a bit when he was about to shit himself.
漏らさせんな。
Don't let him crap his pants.
やばい。
It'd suck if I started smelling like an outhouse in here. Yeah, I know.
猿靴は
Check the gag every now and then.
チェックな
We don't want him
外れても
it
ま
to
ずい。
get loose, so keep it tight.
窒息させたら意味が。
But not so tight that he stops breathing.
あがって
I
る
said I know. Huh? Didn't I ask you to pick up another can of gas for the portable stove?
もうガス
Get out.
聞いてね
I never asked for it, idiot. Seriously, come on. Work, damn
え。
it.
くれよ。
He rattled the portable stove as he struggled to get it to alight. Seeing that, the men who went to buy supplies let us deep sigh, and with a backwards glance at the sight, began to walk to the corner of the room. The kidnapped boy was sprawled out on a sheet that was spread out on the
小
floor.
僧。
Boy, you doing okay? Of course, the man didn't assume the kid was able to hear the question. That was because the boy's ears were plugged, with his eyes and ears thoroughly covered in packing tape. Also, his mouth was gagged with a thin, twisted towel. Because of that, the boy was unable to close his mouth properly, his cheeks sticky with his own saliva. Of course, that wasn't the only reason. Both his arms were tied tightly behind his back with a leather belt.
今んところ。
Yeah,
順調らしい
seem to be doing okay. At least you're not gonna die. If Gramps wanted to play tough, we might have had to lop off an ear. It'd be great if we didn't have to.
本家はこう
If the main family says we do, though, tough luck. I can even imagine what kind of cruel thing they'd have us do.
その本家
The family says not one scratch on him, though. That seems to be going well for the time being.
大臣は
The minister is discreetly withdrawing the dam project. The Hinizawa Dam is indefinitely postponed. I wonder when we're letting the boy go. I just want to be done with this already. The main family seems to be gauging the times. I don't know when it will be, but probably soon.
よかったな小僧
Is that great, kid?
もうじき解放
We'll
さ
be
れる
let
ぞ
go real soon. The man didn't know if their voices were heard by the boy. For him, there was nothing that could be done but to continue to sleep to escape his harsh reality. More importantly, what are you gonna do about the gas?
ラーメン食えんよ。
We can't eat cup ramen noodles raw.
ガス切れたなら言うて
If
え
we're
な
out of gas, say something, jeez. Okay, that's insight into killers. Why I like rainy days. The weather forecast had predicted that it wouldn't rain at all the entire week. It's not that I hate sunny days or anything. When every day is the same, unchanging sunny weather, however, anybody would long for the rain cloud or two. If it's simple, clear skies for a week, a month, or a year, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. The weather specialists said that they had carefully scrutinized a large quantity of past data, so it wouldn't be so likely for the forecast to be wrong. I knew as much. But even then, there were occasionally a day where I was hoping it would be wrong as I stared up in the clear sky, blue sky. Was I really being mischievous in hoping so? I waited and waited, feeling almost suffocated by the boring blue sky, undisturbed by a single cloud. If you could die from that suffocating feeling, then the population of Earth would probably have increased at this point. In other words, the only person who was being suffocated by this was me. And so, welcome the summer evenings when not even the weather forecast could predict a sudden shower. If I were to explain it like this, would you understand a bit more about how I feel? Let's say that tonight's dinner was going to be curry rice. But when you were called down for the dinner table, what was waiting for you was instead an eggplant and a bell pepper stir fry. This is just on your mother's whim, by the way. I would be delighted by such whimsy. I didn't really like eggplants or bell peppers, but still, I would be delighted. The fact that the pre-established routine of curry rice had been broken would be amusing. If tonight were repeated 100 times and 100 times you had to eat curry rice, yet for just that one night, that was changed to an eggplant and bell pepper stir fry, there's no way you wouldn't enjoy that chance happening. I hate pre-established routines. I really hate when things are all decided beforehand. I have no love for boredom. I always get my hopes up that something today will be different from yesterday, no matter how trivial. It'd been decided that for the entire week starting today was going to be clear skies. The weather forecast upon it, so the god of weather must also feel obligated to do so. But who's to say that when a rain cloud might not just show up one day on a whim? It's something that nobody can say for sure, but because the thought remains in this world, a creature such as myself can continue living without being suffocated. Tomorrow will probably be a hot and clear day. However, I'm not the only one who knows that predetermined fate, even with but a slim 1% chance, sometimes changes. Hoping for that 1% chance, I hung up upside down weather charms on my sunlit eaves. In the end, I spent my days waiting for those unexpected things in life to happen. I pondered why I was hoping for it. Why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. I've had my fill of clear skies. That's why I was hoping for a rain cloud. The answer was simple. The fact that it was going to be sunny tomorrow was boring. So why was I hoping for a rain cloud? In the end, it doesn't really matter whether it rains or it shines tomorrow. Basically, it was just that the rain would water my heart, which was withered from boredom. That's why, rather than a TV drama where the plot's already been decided, I prefer to look up at the sky. That was fun. Highlight: barley tea and black tea, and a millstone. Younger coach, your blood pressure has improved. For you to recover this quickly at your age, I'm rather impressed. This rate you'll be kicking after a couple more days, or your son. The young doctor in his medical coat said that as he undid the blood pressure cuff from the arm of the old woman tucked away in her futon. Oh crap! We have her sprite. Okay, only on this one. You're a very good physician, Dr. Irie. If a persistent old fart like me doesn't hurry up and die, I'll just be in your way of the young folk. Oh ho 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 ho. The old lady Oreo laughed faintly with a broad smile on her face. Then turning towards the sliding door, she called out a strong voice. Shimiko-san and Takeo-san there. Bring some tea for Dr. Irie. The sound of rushed footsteps from the hallway drew closer until finally the door slid smoothly open. But when it was revealed, it was a young girl. Look at the old lady's granddaughter. Shimiko-san already left for the day. Do you need something? Oh, that is totally different looking. Yeah, this looks like a child, actually. The other ones look just like slightly different Mion. Mion, make some barley tea for Dr. Irie.
了解
Got it.
抹茶も飲む
Do you want some too, Granny?
紅茶の方
Or
が
would black tea be better?
砂糖もミルクも
Want lots of mix and sugar? I'll measure it out myself, so don't have to put in any. Just bring the sugar jar and some milk when you bring the tea.
はいはい
KK. The girl named Mion, after giving a rather uninterested response to her taskmaster of a grandmother, returned to the hallway. Pour the doctor tea in the cups for the guests, and make sure you bring a coaster too. Also make sure to dry the outside of the glass, okay? Yeah, you're such a fussy pants. A tired voice wafted a reply from down the hallway. A pathetic tone of her voice was far from unusual. The old lady let a wry smile slip across her face as she chided the girl. Geez, that girl just won't learn. Nothing I ever scold her about sticks. No, Oreo-san, you don't have to say that. Mion-chan is doing her best in her own way, even though she's so young. Her mother was the same way. Couldn't teach her anything. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Her mother's mother must be the exact same way, you know? The old lady burst out laughing. Expression showed like she hadn't taken the comment the wrong way. Dr. Irie, I'm sorry, but could you open the door for me? It seemed a nice, cool breeze outside. The cool chirping of the Higurashi had at some point started leaking through the gap in the doorway. Irie-san stood up and opened the door a bit. More than a bit. A refreshing breeze pushed through the stale air that had built up in the room. It's gotten fairly hot during the day. The evenings are still rather cool, aren't they? It's almost downright chilly last night. Yeah, those types of mornings and evenings are rather one of Himazawa's fine points. Yuri replied with a smile as he turned to sit on the cushion beside the old lady. Then the two of them for a while soaked in the voice of the Higurashi. Going to try to live to 100. Till the business with the dam is properly finished, ain't kicking the bucket just yet. To get the government to rejoice the decision they've already made is a fairly difficult thing to do. The way the country does things is like turning a millstone. A heavy one at that. Millstone? Don't you know? The millstone. Irie quickly affirmed that of course he knew what the old lady was talking about. But he knew full well that Oreo didn't like having the stories interrupted. The millstone sea can grind anything to a pulp. Rather impressive. But you see, it doesn't turn that easy because it's a rather heavy millstone. Lots of people have to work in unison to get the even bulge, the type of millstone. Irie pursued, his lips listening quietly to what she was saying. Eventually Mion returned with the tea laid in a tray. Seeing that Oreo was talking in a good mood, she quietly knelt down, laid out the seats for the barley tea and black tea, careful not to interrupt. That's why, when things get going, it's not easy to stop. It takes the most effort to move it right before it starts turning. Everybody hates that, so everybody keeps pushing it along without rest.
摩擦系
You're talking about the friction, right? I get what you're saying. In other words, if there's some sort of mistake and the millstone suddenly stops turning, to get it turning again takes a great deal of power, more or less. Certainly to get a project that's been suspended going again takes quite a lot of work. It's a millstone that isn't easily stopped, but once it's stopped, it'll never turn again. That's a kind of millstone. It'd be nice if that's some way to stop the millstone, wouldn't it? When Irie responded with that, Mion and the old lady suddenly sunk into silence. Irie instinctively thinking he had said something rude, searched for a small panic for words to correct himself. But silence wasn't that easy wasn't due to rude words. What crept across Mion's face and the old lady's face were contemptuous smiles. That was surrounding Irie froze, leaving them flabbergasted. Thinking about the scornful smiles creeping across both of their faces was the result of some mistake, he could only grow afraid. It had been that long since he was enveloped by silence. Unable to stand it, Irie could only let out a weak laugh. Irie's laugh eventually spread to Mion and the old lady. Not knowing exactly what they were laughing at, their laughter left a lingering chill. The only ones not laughing was the Higurashi, who continued their simple and unchanging chorus. We done? Okay, I have to actually hurry now. Sorry, rushed ending. I'm calling it here after a save. Next time, hopefully 3 chapters. I hope. See you all then.